Hello, hello. Thank you for joining. How are we all doing today? Um, I thought I'd introduce myself for those of you who are new. My name's Darren, and I'm Darren. I'm basically an artist over here in Melbourne, artist and teacher. Run a bunch of these online tutorials and workshops each weekend, sometimes during the week as well. I try to do them a couple times a week. And thank you so much for joining today. I'm gonna have just a little. If you only just give me a little minute, what I'm gonna do is just set up a few, just make sure that the chats and everything are running okay. Let me know if you can hear me all right. There is a little chat box if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook. Just leave a chat there and let me know whereabouts you're from, and yeah, basically how long you've been painting for, maybe some of the things you like to paint. But mainly, if you can hear me all okay. I did have some issues in the last stream where I was unable to finish off the stream. It sort of just cut off halfway. I'm not sure what exactly happened. Um, but yeah, I hope it doesn't happen this time around. I've recently upgraded my computer software, so there were some issues going on. There's a few chats I just thought I'd go over them. We've got Yvette. How you doing, Yvette? Welcome back. Thank you. It's been good. And Yvonne as well. Glad you're feeling better. I've not been well for the last couple of weeks, and it's been difficult because I've not been able to really paint all too much. So, um, yeah, I think Don's saying the stream is stuttering. Hmm, I hope it gets a little better. You can also try the YouTube channel, Don, if the Facebook one is stuttering. That was kind of happening last time. I may have to swap computers next time, and hopefully that might resolve the problem. Unfortunately, this happens when you upgrade software. I sort of upgraded Windows 11 the other day, which I wish I didn't, and now there's all these little issues happening. So, Cynthia, we've got a few. Got Margaret McFadden. How you going, Margaret? Good to see you, and thank you for everyone on following up on me and making sure that I was all right the last couple of weeks. Long story short, I'm not gonna go into it too much because it's probably gonna look. I just don't want to go into it too much, but basically, I went into hospital under the doctor thought I had appendicitis, and it was pretty bad. At the time anyway, I didn't think it was that bad, and I had just caught the a tram over to the hospital. But by the time I got to the hospital, I could barely walk through the door, and yeah, it turned out I had a pretty nasty infection, and I was on antibiotics for quite some time. They kept me in hospital, wouldn't let me leave, and I couldn't do much. I was just sitting there in hospital, and it wasn't fun. It was, yeah, I had a lot of time to myself just thinking because we're also not allowed to have visitors here in Melbourne. For those of you who aren't living in Melbourne or over in the States. So I'm glad that I'm out. I'm glad that I'm out and glad that I'm better now. So really appreciate it. Some people are saying the stream is stuttering, and apparently it's better on Facebook. Apparently it's better on Facebook. Sorry, on YouTube. Hmm. Um, right. I hope that it does get better. Usually, what happens after the stream is that it fixes up nicely when you replay it. The internet connection's looking good. I'm not so sure what's going on. I may try a different computer later on, for the next stream. But I apologize, guys, if if it's not working so well on Facebook. Um, so we've got a few people on YouTube as well. We've got Jill Mitchell from Cincinnati, Ohio. How you going, Jill? Lucia Lupu, good to see you again. Lucia. Jill says she switched to YouTube and it's better. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I'm not so sure with what's going on. I hope it sort of irons out a little bit. Um, But I've got a couple of scenes that I painted for my last event, and I know for some of you who maybe haven't been here before, you might be wondering what my style is or the type of things that I paint. So this here is basically based on a photo that I painted on the Charles Bridge. So it's a it's a nice little scene that I changed up a bit, and I've used some complementary colors with some warmth here in the horizon and a bit here. I like to do that with my paintings and my color palette, using complementaries and also a good levels of contrast. So um, yeah, basically things where you've got dark areas with light. Sharp contrast like that. I do like that here in the windows as well. This is another one that I did on the same day as well. So something I do like this one quite a lot, except maybe the figures I should have taken a bit more time to add some more detail with the figures. But that's kind of what we will be doing today for for these two scenes. We'll be painting in this kind of style. I think I'll just be using watercolor today. Yeah, I think we'll just be using watercolor today, and we'll go from there, and I'll show you all the process, the steps that I take to paint any scene in watercolor. And for those of you who've come along to my previous lives, you'll know that I approach all these scenes in a very similar way. I go from all the lighter sort of tones, so things like um, the sky, the ground, the little bits of light in the building, maybe the lanterns here, which are lighter in tone, and then I paint all the darker tones after. Use a bit of wet and wet as well to help blend everything together. So it's kind of the sort of process I use, and I also start from the top and move down to the bottom normally. So with watercolor paintings, I do like to put a little book or a little magazine behind the paper. So normally I'll tape the paper down to a bit of a board or a bit of plastic or something. Um, and then what I'll do is, yeah, I'll basically just put a book or something behind. Okay. This is a bit strange. I think, yeah, there's a few people having issues on Facebook, and I apologize for that. Again, I'm really not sure what's going on. People on YouTube are saying that it's fine, so you might want to swap over there. Um, and see how we are going. Julia Kalox here as well says I can hear but can't see anything except a static picture. I'm in Melbourne, brand new to watercolors. Welcome, Julia. Can you let me know in the chats, anyone yeah watching on YouTube, sorry, on Facebook, whether you can see and hear okay? Um, I'm gonna carry on anyhow. I don't think there's really much I can do about it. I'm not sure what I can do about it. Because the stats on the stream on Facebook looks fine to me. It just says that it's streaming fine, but I know that I have been having issues with Facebook lately. So some of you might be having some troubles watching on Facebook. But thank you for your patience, everybody. It is tricky. It certainly is tricky to run these things. I do these mostly on my own, and basically I'm multitasking, which I'm not the best at doing. So I'm going through the chats and trying to paint and everything at the same time. But I do appreciate the chats, guys. If you have questions, this is what I do on all the workshops. If you have questions, leave them in the chats. And when I get a bit of a breather away from the painting, I'll have a look at the chats and I'll answer your questions. So also like to know what you think as well. If you have any suggestions on things that you might want to see me add in, or just a bit of clarification, sometimes does help. I like that feedback. If I'm not explaining something clearly enough, just let me know, and I'll do my best to reiterate again. Because I think it was a thing in the beginning where I would just assume people would know certain things, but I can never assume that. You guys are all just starting out, and I want to make sure that I provide the best value for you because you're spending all your obviously some time here. I don't know how long you'll be here, hopefully for the whole session. But I do tend to paint for quite a bit of time, normally for nearly 3 hours. I try to keep it down, but perhaps I talk a bit too much or I get a bit involved. So yeah, Kate's here as well. Kate says Facebook's fine, and good to hear you're feeling better. Thank you, Kate, and thanks for coming along. Um, fantastic. So we've got yeah, quite a few familiar um, visitors and friends that have joined along. We have got Robin Carroll from South Carolina, Janet Marie, Bob from Bob Kagan, Ontario, Canada, and Cynthia. Cynthia says everything's okay from New Hampshire, US. Fantastic. Thinking about painting. Yeah, good idea. Is always, I think making a start is the hardest part, especially when you look at what's out there and you don't even know where to get started. I think you just can talk yourself out of things before you even picked up the paintbrush. So yeah, if you get a chance, Cynthia, join along. You can always join along later as well if you want to watch the replay. But uh, David Nittle, are you going, David? And I think you were in the last. We win the last live, David, from South Carolina. Yanni from Indonesia, and we've got Yelena Konodo from NJ. US. Is that New Jersey? NJ? Not too familiar with all the states. I do want to visit one day though. So yeah, if I'm around, I'll let you guys know. We can catch up, do some painting or something. And same thing if you guys are over in Melbourne sometime. I'm gonna do some painting outdoors as well, so we can catch up and show you around. Uh, fantastic. I think everything is okay. Facebook is fine. In iOS is Jan, and we've got Cornelius and Laura, Bishop Rios from Missouri. We've got Lillian as well. Lillian seeing on Facebook. This is fine. Rupa Mehta from California. Awesome. Thank you for joining, Rupa. You're pretty regular, and it's good to see you consistently painting as well. It's definitely like a great habit to get into. Sometimes you won't feel like painting, and you get into it as you start. Let's put it that way. I don't feel like painting a lot of the time, but once you get the drawing in and then you get a few brush strokes, then your brain will just switch into painting mode. So you won't always have that inspiration to start off with. A lot of the time, the inspiration comes as you paint, as you create. Um, there's a kind of misconception that you have to have this sort of feeling and inspiration before you begin. Don't wait for that because it's unreliable, that feeling. If you have that, go for it. But if you don't have that, then continue painting anyway. That's the only way that you can get better, improve, and paint consistently. It's kind of building a habit. Is one of the most hardest things to do in any discipline or anything in life, really. So we might get started. We've also got Suzanne Hennigan from North Carolina. How are you going, Suzanne? And like I said, if you have any comments and questions, certainly just leave them around in the chats, and I will get back to you and do my best to answer. I'm just trying to stop a few of the other videos and things like that that are playing along in the background that might be influencing the stream. The stream from just stuttering and stuff like that. Okay, so let's do the flower scene first. So I'll just bring up the reference. Here it is. Okay. And what we're gonna need for this, guys, is just a pencil. So just grab yourself any ordinary pencil. This one is a bit. This is a 1.0. What is it? I think it's a 1.0 lead pencil. Which is a bit, it's a bit of a thicker sort of pencil, but forces me to be looser. And the reference photo, if you go ahead and check in the community tabs from YouTube or if you're on Facebook, I've pinned the reference photo in the discussion. There's a the little link there, so you can click on that, have a look, and basically you'll be able to see the reference in there. But yeah, bring up the sunflower reference. Have that up in the on the page, and I've got so many tabs open at the moment. It's kind of tricky for me to see exactly what is going on with all the chats. But I will check. Certainly will check from time to time. I kind of have them up on the same page in the corner. So we've got too many tabs. I need to get another. I need to get another screen, guys. I think I'll get one this week, and I'll attach it to my computer. It makes it easier. Susie Jane from Perth. How you doing, Susie? I'm actually originally from Perth. Susie, whereabouts in Perth are you from? And how's things going over there? I haven't been back for some time, so here the cities. You know, you guys have there's more buildings and stuff. Development. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, good to see you here, Susie. And righto. So let's get started now. The reference picture is pretty. I like this reference picture because we have two elements in the photo which make it perfect for painting. One, we've got a lot of contrast. So by that I mean we've got a lot of dark areas and lighter areas. So if we look at the flowers, they're pretty light, except for the center portion. In the background, we've got this darkness, and that helps sort of cut around the flowers, that light sort of tone. We've also got nice complementaries. We've got this beautiful yellow of the flowers, and we've got these kind of cooler colors in the background, which really contrast nicely. So the shadows as well, coming to the right-hand side of the pot, that help to kind of cut around the flowers. They're quite nice and large as well, so I thought this would be a good thing to get started. Nice little warm-up, and you know, to also not overthink things too much as well. Can be very easy to certainly overthink things when you're drawing and when you're painting. And yeah, the trick is you want to get in most of the detail through the actual painting itself. Okay, so not through too much of the drawing. Drawing is just you got to make sure it's fairly accurate, but at the same time, you do want to make sure that you're getting in most of the detail through your paintings. So let's start off with a bit of this pot at the bottom. Okay, I've got a sheet of paper like this, and you notice we're going to have to decide about, you know, how large, how small of an area we want in here. Let me just see if I can move this reference picture a bit, actually. Here we go. Just make that reference picture a little smaller on the screen, so then I can move this over to the right-hand side. So let's get started. A bit of the pot, okay? And we don't want to make it too small because we're going to have to estimate again how far, you know, we've got all these flowers going in, and we don't have to paint them and draw them exactly as they are. Okay, but the easiest thing to sort of get in first, I would say, is this pot. Okay, so we get in the base of the vase or the pot, whatever it is here. And it's kind of, you know, like circular, oval kind of shape. It doesn't matter a whole lot, but get it in to a point where you feel you're kind of happy with the basic shape of it, and it leaves, more importantly, leaves you with room. Okay, because we need to put in this enormous flower here, and this enormous sunflower. And you can see the pot kind of just come up all around the side here like that. Being pretty loose with the drawing as well, okay? Because I want to change up some of these flowers, perhaps make them face different ways. Some of the leaves, change them up as well. But we'll be, you know, I think for this one, we'll try to be as faithful to the reference as I can. And let's start. You see this large flowering? We've got the vase. This large flower overlaps with the vase. So there's no point kind of drawing in that side of the vase. We're going to draw in the flower. And overlapping shapes can be very tricky for beginners, because what happens is, yeah, people just tend to get confused about where it overlaps, and they draw in other stuff, and it gets a bit messy. So what I do is I just leave out the spot that's roughly overlapping like that, and then I'll just draw over the top. So we're going to estimate. We know the opening of the vase is somewhere around here. Yeah, it's somewhere around here. I can't see exactly. It's all pretty dark in there. Got a flower here. This is the center of the flower, like this. Okay, it's more kind of oval shaped, almost facing that way, to the right hand side. Then we're going to just draw in a few petals, just loose kind of petals like this. And we're being very loose. Hold the pencil right at the end as well. Okay, and these are just kind of uh, potentials. So they may not be the end result of the actual flower, but it's just an indication of some of these petals that we want to put in here, okay, and get in nicely with the watercolors later, okay. And it's pretty loose, as you can see. I mean, I'm not really trying to add in a whole lot of detail at all, okay. You might, for example, I've overestimated the center portion of the flower, so just erase a little bit of that in there like that. But that's fine. There we go. We have got the largest flower in there. Okay. You may even want to extend out some of these petals. It depends as well. So if you feel like there's not enough, there's too much space on that right hand side, you can extend it out. The good thing about flowers is that they come in all different shapes and sizes. There's no right or wrong with these flowers. So I might actually draw in a little darker for you guys as well. Because I know it can be tricky to see what exactly is going on camera. I hope it's okay. But look, the main thing again, draw a little circle in the center or a little oval shape, and then draw these little petals coming out on the outsides and keep them pretty loose. Don't worry all too much about their exact proportions or anything like that. Okay. So we've got at this stage the base, the flower. We're going to get this one in now. I think this will be the second easiest thing to put in. Okay. And always tackle the easy stuff first. The obvious things. Another obvious thing we can find and draw in is the table. The table actually starts and finishes. It goes right through the center of the vase, kind of like here. So we just draw a little line like that. There we go. That's the table. There's also some petals and things that have fallen off. If you game, you can even just draw in like a flower that's fallen off, like that. There could be another flower here, the sunflower that's sitting on the back section like that. It's up to you. It's certainly something that you can add in just to create some interest on the table. And I think these little speckles of yellow for some of these fallen petals and things, they really look good later on. There's actually a fairly large shadow that runs all the way across, and you can see it hits the wall, and then it just sort of, something like that, it just goes across the table and the wall. So we don't really need to draw that in, but I just want to outline it to show you where about that large shadow is. This is going to be great because we're going to cut around that pot. We're going to cut around this flower as well. Okay, let's just extend this pot out a little bit more for the side like that. Okay, let's put in some petals for this one. There's one there. Here's another one there. Another one here. Another one here. Yeah, they're kind of curved, coming towards the back. This one looks like it's slightly wilted. Then the ones at the bottom just go straight out. They just fan straight out the bottom like this. Okay, and there we go. We've got another flower. We also have these kind of green leaves that are coming out from the bottom of them, and it's important to add them in as well because they're going to give a bit of relief from all the light that's running through the scene. It actually, if you see, it kind of like goes towards the left of this vase. It's pretty dark on the vase, and then we've got a fair bit of darkness in here. And again, we can just indicate some of these green bits of leaves and things. It's all just abstract shapes at the moment, but having a few little leaves like this, perhaps that are a bit more defined there, coming out on the side, does help. So I've got a couple there. They actually form a slight shadow on the vase. Very, very slight shadow there. So just thinking, having a look at the vase, is it the right shape? sometimes you got to refine things as you go. Okay. Okay. So we got two flowers, got that one there, and we got to look what else do we have to put in. Susie says, "Hi Darren, and thank you. Thank you for your tutorials. Very helpful." Thank you, Susie. No worries. I love running these. Love running these tutorials. The technology side of things, less so. But I really like talking to you guys and yeah, just being able to help out and share some of my processes, making it easy for you. Um, I also, I find it's just a lot easier rather than if I make the videos, pre-record them, which I do as well. I've got a whole bunch of pre-recorded videos, but if I yeah, if I make the videos beforehand and then post them, I find that you guys can't ask questions, and there's more interaction this way. So while you're here, definitely make the most use of your time and ask me as many questions as you'd like, and I'll do my best to sort of answer them. And I think it's great that we can do this live, and it all started out sort of during lockdown actually, and turns out uh, I'm still continuing doing these. So anyway, let's get started again. Again, so let me know how you're doing if you are needing a bit more help at this stage. But really, the main thing you want to look at with these flowers is the center part of the flower. Which actually I can't remember what it was. I can't really remember what it was called. The center part of the flower. Um, Basically, it's kind of like if you think of a person's face or a person's head. It's a bit funny, but um, if you can tell which way it's facing. So this one here, it's facing upwards, so you can see it's kind of got a bit of a convex shape up the top like that, and then it kind of comes down. It's almost like a cookie or something. And then you can do the petals facing upwards like that, and then you see less of the petals down the bottom. Okay, so a bit like that, and that indicates already that the flower is kind of facing upwards. So that's how you kind of indicate the sort of directionality of things. There's even one here hidden behind the other flower, um, sunflower, and it's just fanning out in the background like that. I quite like this one. It's creating a negative shape. And then we've got some more. Oops, where we got this? Kind of just disappeared. A few bits behind there, but that's it there. There's maybe another flower. Just add in. There's a stem going up, if you can see it like that. And yeah, this one's a bit weird. It's almost facing the opposite way around. I don't know, it's got a bit of darkness underneath, but it doesn't matter. Look, I'll just make it up. We'll do it similar to that one there. Okay. Yeah, so we got a couple facing up. That bits of green and things in the center, and there is one here as well. So again, just drawing that convex. It's almost like a convex lens. Okay, that. And then we start drawing a few of these little petals and things going off like that. Sunflower petals are very. I find they just go off in all different directions, especially if they're starting to kind of wilt as well. So they certainly quite loose shape. They're perfect for beginners. Okay, it doesn't take too much technical ability or time really to draw them in. There's a question from David Nittle. What number of lead in the pencil do you use for sketching? This one is I think it's a 1.3 millimeter lead, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's 1.3. I got this pencil in like a pack, a sketching pack a while ago, and I normally use pencils that are 0.5 and smaller, but for kind of looser sketches like this, and also especially because I'm doing these live demos, I think it makes it a bit easier for you guys to see. The lead is it's a dark, I think it's a 2B 1.3 lead, just to make it easier for you to see. But normally I'd use a like a 0.5 or a 0.7 so that it just leaves less of a mark on the paper. But honestly, once you finish with the watercolors, you can barely see yeah, you can barely see the pencil anyway. So don't worry all too much. As long as you can see it yourself, that's the big thing. Hey, Nikki. Um, good to see you. Good to see you again. It's been a while. And Nikki's one of my regular viewers on here. Um, so let's carry on. Now, this sunflower, again, the we're getting it, you can see it's facing this way because I've made it point that way. So where I put that convex area that kind of, you know, points outwards, this is a part where you can just use to make it face, make it show like it's facing in that direction. I didn't really explain that very well, but yeah, same sort of deal as I did with the other ones. So there we go. It kind of looks like it's facing that way, yeah? There's overlapping shapes in there as well. We won't bother too much. Balance is super important. I'm thinking, are the petals large enough? I don't know. Maybe we can increase them in size a little because but there's enormous flower there. Um, I think it looks okay. That there is a leaf or something here which is going behind like that. Okay. And then also, just in case if the stream does drop out or there's issues, I will reconnect and join on again because I did have problems last time. I'm really not sure what happened last time, but I normally it's fine. So, but yeah, if it does drop out, I will be back on and I'll just reconnect it again, guys. It looks to be okay at the moment. What happened last time was that the computer just died on me. Oh, the battery just disconnected or something like that because of the. Never happened to me before. It's just more of the update. These little leaves you see kind of pointing up, and there's little bits of green sort of areas that are kind of the back of the yeah, like that. So real basic, and I think that's about all really that we will need to do for this. Okay, um, with this larger flower, I like to just emphasize some of the petals a teeny bit more. Okay, but we can also just do that with the watercolors. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got a larger palette here. I've been using this one recently because I don't know, I've just been finding it a lot easier, like a lot easier to paint with this one. So, how are you guys going with the drawing? Are you all finished? You need a bit more time? I think look, don't overthink the drawing. Don't overthink the drawing, and I think get the practice, the brush strokes, brush mileage in. I think that's super important as well. Most of the detail actually comes from the brush work because at the moment this doesn't really look like anything, but hopefully it kind of turns out like something else. Here's another one that I did the other day. So righto, let's go ahead and get started. So. What we want to do first, something that I always start off with everything, all my paintings, drawings, whatever you call it, I always get in the lightest values first. And I'm going to be using a number 8, I think it is. Let me have a look. Number 8 round brush. There it is. Number 8 round brush. I've also got a number 6 round brush. Number 6 round brush. Yvette says she's going good. Fantastic. Number 8 and number 6, like the paper I'm using is about 9 by 12 inches or about A4 size. Okay. And let me just have a quick. Okay. Drink of water. Tea. Okay. Voice goes funny. Talk for a while. Right. So we want to get this yellow on the sunflowers, and we're going to do this very, very quickly, guys. We're just going to go in. Now, I've got Hansa yellow here. Let me see. Can you see the palette? You can. Yeah, a bit. Corner. Just move that. Oh, it's enormous. Hansa yellow. Okay, just the brightest yellow that you can find first. That's what you want. And you want to get it to a medium kind of consistency. Okay? I'm just going to go in and we're just going to do all of these petals first. Okay, this won't take you very long. It should only take you, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so. Okay, just 1, 2, 3, just put in the basic indication of where the petals are. Okay, it doesn't have to be much. And a little trick that you can do as well is it's a technique you got to practice. You press down on the paper here near the center, and then you lift up near the end. Okay, and that creates a petal shape. Okay, up in, lift off. I have another brush which I've been kind of obsessed with lately. It's this one. Where is it? Where is that brush? It's kind of it's a flat brush, but it's cut on a little angle. See? You can see in the camera, but it's a slight angled kind of flat brush, and I use this one as well, get in petals and things, because it just, the petals and things just go off on a bit of a tangent, and they just look a bit more loose, and I like that. So for some of the ones in the background, you can certainly go a bit looser, okay? And so that's all I'm doing, just putting in a bit of color for this. And if you don't get that shape of the petal exactly, don't worry, because we're going to be using a lot of negative painting techniques to cut around them as well, okay? So we're just trying to get in a little, just a real basic indication of the flowers. Okay, look at that, just the yellow. And I always like to do the yellow first because it is so easy to accidentally mix up some green into your yellow. So fine, if we do it this way, we're less likely to mix any of that, that green on, because we're going to use a bit of green in there anyway later. So there we go. Just some more petals. You certainly take a bit of care with them, but don't obsess over them. Which one of these are leaves? Some of these are leaves, I know. So loose. Doesn't matter. I'm going to look at the reference. Am I missing any out? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Need a bit in here. 6, 7. That's our 7 flowers. What have we missed? A bit of the ground ones. Ones on the table. Just put in a bit of yellow for the petals. Really that simple. Just put in a little bit of that there, like that. Okay. All right. Now the center, I might just actually just put in a little yellow, some of these centers, and then what I'm going to do is actually mix up some neutral tint, a little bit of neutral tint in here, and this will just darken down this yellow. And I'm going to drop that in just to the center like this. Okay. Some of these, just like that. There's a bit. There's one bit there. Okay, kind of just yellow mix with neutral tint. If you don't have neutral tint, just mix up a kind of a grayish color. Okay, there we go. You kind of just touch and go. You don't want to spend all too much time in there. The center's kind of darker, but you're letting it kind of blend. You can see with the rest of the flower, soft shapes. That one in the bottom right, I'm not 100% too happy with that one. It's spread a fair bit. Just lift off something like. We'll go back into it maybe a bit later. The center of it, I just need to indicate more of that center region there. I think that's looking okay. So while the paint is wet, this is just a great time to get in, the details. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's the 7th? Oh, yeah. Yes, in there. Of course, you cut around that one as well. Flower. Okay, petals are still slightly wet, and this is where I'm going to mix up a bit of yellow and a tiny bit of orange to try to make a kind of a gamboge color, a deeper sort of yellow color, so I can get just a little bit of darkness in for some of these petals. So you can see here, if you look very, very carefully, there are some little kind of shadows here on some of these petals. So a little wet on wet work like that, I think would be nice here. Maybe a bit here. Okay. Kind of a more orangey, slightly orangey color. I mean, you got some more over on this side as well, but again, it's up to you. You don't want to overdo it, but it does help to add a bit more dimensionality to the flowers. Um, just an extra feature, and while the paint's wet as well, it will just melt in. Okay, and so you have this nice mixture of orangey, yellowy sort of sections in there. Okay, um, looking good, looking good. Great. On the ground as well, I've just forgotten to put this one in center section like that. Just put that in like that. Maybe here as well. There, here. And that's what happens when you leave it to dry. You're going to get a sharper edge, a harder edge on the sides like that. Um, Now these yellows, they're all starting to dry and it's nicely looking quite nice at the moment. You know, but what I want to do, where is that? Where is my special brush? Special brush. It's just a flat brush. There it is. I have that flat brush and I'll put a bit more of this yellow. I'm thinking I might just get a few more strokes, maybe running through, just in case, just in case. Some more petals light in there. And what we'll do now is we'll pick up some green. I'm going to use, I have some sap green here on the side. And just mix up a bit of sap green. Or if you've got any other green, just use that. It's no big deal. A little bit of sap green. And we'll go in and just use this to kind of cut around some parts of the flower. So see here, a tiny bit of cutting around for that petal here as well. Okay, there. Very important not to really go over the yellow bits again. You want to let them kind of stand out and yeah, basically create a bit of a shape, bit of a negative shape there. I do have some of this undersea green, which is a darker kind of green as well, and this is going to be good to for this section here, for example, where I'm going to need to cut around, um, that petal, petal here. Okay, come around here, there, cut around that one like that, there. Just leaving in the yellows. So important to leave some of those yellows in. Okay, and you're defining the shapes. You can see you can define the shapes of the petals by cutting around like that. Um, more more of this sap green. We'll get a bit here, and a bit here, here. And if they blend together, I'm not too fussed as well. There's a bit of, call it, bit of a leaf there, bit of leaf, and a bit here as well. Bit of cutting around work in there too. Have a look. There's little bits of, certainly little bits of green in the center of these flowers and just moving around. So um, that's what I'm doing here. I'm just defining some edges of the flowers by adding in the green. Funny enough, you add the green and then everything else just starts to, petals and stuff start to come out and look a bit more present. Okay. If you think you've gone too dark, you can also just lift off a little bit some areas. Yeah, that center part, I think it will dry fine. It looks dark, but I think it will dry fine. Here's another bit more, some more leaves or something coming up around the flowers. That just looking for some areas of green that you might be able to put in. Sometimes at the back of the flowers as well, you do get a bit of that. I like that one, nice and loose. It is fairly dark in this section anyhow. It's good. Creates a bit more contrast with this flower. But we're going to have to just resolve this a little bit and bring it down into some extra kind of darkness at the bottom. I'm going to go grab a bit of, what do we got here? I'm going to grab a bit more of this yellowy color, this orangey color, put that into the base of this vase. And also I do have another color called 𝗣𝗢𝗢𝗡𝗢. It's just a brown color basically, but I like it because it granulates. I'll just squeeze out a little bit here. I'll be just using some of that in the vase, the bottom of the vase. So put in a bit like that, looking good. There, got that yellow, of course, in there as well. Coming downwards there, maybe a bit of neutral tint up the top in here as well. Nice, just a little bit more darkness up the top in here. And you can use this as well to just sort of cut around the petals, as you can see, like that one there, that there, no. Okay. And we'll probably have to darken this vase again another time, but I think this is a good first run. And the main things you want to just get in are just the light, most important part. You want to indicate those lighter areas in the painting. Important. And there's just this vase. I do like a bit of abstract stuff going on. Wet and wet. Okay, color around it. And again, you know, resist the urge, paint over the sunflower petals. Okay, I think that looks okay. Moment. We'll go in there. We'll probably define some of this stuff a bit more later. Actually, way darker around here. But not a problem. So we've got in a lot of our kind of darker colors, lighter colors. We've got the general indication of the vase. You might want to think, what else could I put in here? Might think some extra leaves might be good. Up to you. Okay, fantastic. How are we all doing at this point? Following along okay? Let me know. Let me know how you're doing. And yeah, if you need any extra tips at this point, because this is the fun bit. I really love this next bit where we're just cutting around. We probably finish this off in another 15 minutes. It won't take too long to go through it. Okay, so I'll give you a few moments to sort of finish up, and if you have questions, leave them in the chat. We've got quite a lot of people watching along today. I think it's about nearly 70 people out there. So we good to hear from some of you and newcomers haven't been before. I think there's I forgot to read out a message from Seema Javeri from Malaysia. How you going, Seema? Okie dokie. Let's, I'm going to assume that you guys are going okay, that it's making sense for you. Okay. And I'm going to carry on. And what we'll do is get in the background. Margaret says, following this, I hope I can handle it better than my others. Only one way to find out. Only one way to find out. This is probably the trickiest part, Margaret. It's just, I think for me, when I was doing all this negative painting and stuff, it was just finding the self-control to leave these little sharper areas. The sharper areas will define the flower. Because in watercolors, you can't put lighter colors on top of dark colors. We can kind of. You can use gouache. I do use gouache later to show you how I use that to bring back some of the highlights and things. But watercolors works a lot better when you preserve these lighter parts of the paper in there. So it's something knowing which bits to leave and say, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to touch that anymore, and knowing which bits to continue to work on and that kind of thing. You can also lift off a bit of paint afterwards. I'll show you guys just a few little tricks and tips and tricks that you can do. At times, you know, when you're painting pretty loosely, what can happen is, yeah, certainly you can go over areas by mistake, this and that, and you think, oh, I just want a bit of less color in there. I'll show you what you can do at the end. You can still recover bits and pieces. Gail says, great tutorial. Thanks so much. My first time here. Fantastic. Thank you, Gail. Whereabouts are you watching from, and how'd you find my channel? But thank you for coming along. It's good to see some new people as well. And you know, I've just gotten back into it after about a week and a bit of being quite sick. So um, yeah, it's you know, I really loving just being able to paint again and share some of my tips and processes with you all. Um, I got courses as well, so if you ever want to buy any of them, the links are all in the description if you're interested. But there's a lot of free stuff on here. I make a lot of free content that you can go through and watch, and you can learn a heap of information, a heap of knowledge from them. So upload to YouTube and Facebook. I've actually got a whole bunch of videos that I'm editing, and I will be uploading different tutorials. So keep an eye out for them. I'll post them in the coming days. So, you know, while I've been talking, this is all dried up a little bit, which is okay, but at the same time, I like having some soft edges in the flowers. I don't want it all, the background just to be all sharp everywhere. So this is a spray bottle. Look what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give a spray, little spray in some areas. Okay, not all too much, like that. And what this is going to do is, when I go in with the background color, it is then going to soften up in some spots. So what do I got here? This is like a cat's tongue brush. I might just use this. Okay, if you've got a flat brush or you've got a round brush, use that. Okay, but for cutting around the flowers, I tend to use a brush that's got more of a point on the edge, and that kind of helps to do a bit of that cutting around. You know, something like this, even this smaller brush is fine. I'm going to be using a color called Imperial Purple. It's a color that I recently bought. I did a little review of it, which I'll upload at some stage. It's a beautiful, beautiful purple that granulates out nicely. I think it's a mixture of quinacridone red and ultramarine blue. It's beautiful. So here's a bit of it. Now, looking at the background of the photo, you'll notice it's pretty dark, but it's not super dark. So depending on how much you want to, on how dark you want to make the background, it's really up to you. Some people prefer having backgrounds that are a little bit lighter. For this one, it's almost like a mid-tone in the background because the darkest tones are not actually in the background. They're in the shadow areas here. They're also in the center parts of the flowers. So here's some purple. Okay, just drop that into the background. I love purples, so this is just a great opportunity to use some of these. And notice here, because I did a little bit of a spray, or with that spray bottle, I'm now getting some soft bits kind of blending in the background. They're also blending in to the petals, but not all of them. So only some of the petals have that. So it's having that variety is just so important. That variety of brush strokes. Yeah, look that's kind of blending. I love that blend, and it's so important when you're starting out learning watercolors to allow things to blend as well and remain fluid on the paper. That's, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful things about watercolors. This effect here, it's mixing, and I initially, when I started painting many years ago in watercolors, I'd freak out and I'd think, oh crap, it's mixing, you know. I'd freak out. But um, you don't need all that much detail in there. You just need a bit of cutting around, and the mind will fill in the remaining bits. You notice in the background as well, I do have some areas where I've just, you know, just left some whites and things on there too. So that helps to just, yeah, just create some contrasting areas. Okay. Um, you know, you might even think to yourself, hey, why not put in some cerulean blue or something in there? Or you might want a bit more ultramarine, a bit more bluish sort of sections in there. You can do that. So you put in a bit more blue. That okay. Let's have a look at that reference photo again. The main thing is that we want to get around is cutting around the flowers. Okay. I'm using a purple because it is, of course, complementary yellow. And you get some very beautiful effects, impressions when you're using complementaries with each other. It's how you really bring out the vibrancy of some of these scenes. I'm not going to paint all the way to the corners. Too watery, this mix. It's okay. Some bits of the background you can keep more watery than others, to keep it interesting. The worst thing you can do, not the worst thing, but by painting the background an entirely same tone and the same color, you can tend to really make things boring. So I just have areas which are light and areas which are dark. Um, roughly, like, you know, they're around the same tone, but you can see here it's lighter. Suddenly it's dark, and then it goes a little bit lighter here. And whatever you do with this purple anyway, it's going to be darker than the flowers. So you're not going to, certainly not going to have any issues with that. You notice some of the background also comes through the center of the flowers. Very hard to see, but some bits here, for example, there. So you can use that opportunity to essentially just add in a bit of the purple into sections of the flowers like that. That way it looks kind of cohesive and flowy, so that we don't have just the background which remains separate from everything else. Okay, here we go. We are almost done, really, with this. There's not a huge amount left to do here. As you can see, I'm just dropping in some background colors. I've got other purples as well. This is like some amethyst, a color called amethyst, which I did a little. I also did a review of. I love purples, and yeah, I bought this one recently, and it's pretty cool. It kind of has these little sparkly thingos in it, sparkle effects. There, it's more of a muted purple compared to the imperial purple that I've got, which is very vibrant. You see, it actually comes down to a green sort of color, which you can mix up. I've got a bit of blue, ultramarine, not ultramarine, cerulean blue mixed with a bit of green, and that will hopefully create some of a greenish sort of hue here at the bottom. And I'm just cutting around some of these flowers still. Don't worry about leaving some white on the paper. Problem. Okay, bring that down like that. Fantastic. So that is pretty much done, that background. The only other thing that you can play around with and just have a bit of fun with is maybe just adding in some colors in there if you want some darker sections of color, or a bit of disturbance in some areas. You can just drop in a bit of darker color in sections like this, okay, just to create some blotchiness and effects in there. Okay, so I've done that in a few bits, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it dries. Okay, the tabletop is a lighter color. It's kind of like a burnt sienna color, so I'm just going to use some of that. Drop that in like this. It's actually a lot lighter. Here's some yellow ochre, and let's mix that yellow ochre with a bit of the burnt sienna. Just trying to get a a pretty light color like that, and I want it to blend with the background. Okay, so that creates a bit of softness. I've missed the boat on that side a bit. And here, blend that downwards. Here, there, blend it down. There, cut around these flowers here in the front, like that, around the pot as well. There, fantastic. Kind of, I just might want to shape this pot a bit more. Deal. Okay. And remember, we're leaving out those yellows, some of the yellows in there as well. Just makes it, yeah, cut around. Uh, cut around them to show that the yellow bits, if we go over with this color, it's going to just disappear. It looks funny at the moment because, especially when the watercolors is wet, it has this sort of kind of sheen to it, and it makes it look too obvious. But when it dries, it actually subdues down and joins together nicely. So um, fantastic. So that's what we have at the moment. Um, let me know how you are going. We are almost finished with this, guys. Um, the last step is just bring it together. There's some shadows. You see some shadows coming down around the pot. There's a larger shadow coming around the right hand side, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dry it off with a hair dryer and go in. If you don't have a hair dryer, yeah, you're gonna have to wait, or probably you can wait till after the demo. I use the hairdryer because it just makes it a lot quicker, and then I'll put in some sharper shadows on the pot at the bottom here, and sort of like spreading into the background. Oh, a super chat from Gail Dennis. Thank you, Gail. Sending that super chat through. Yeah, recently YouTube let me enable it, so really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the demo. And yeah, yeah. If anyone has questions and that kind of thing, anything you want me to answer specifically at the moment, do let me know. While I'm here, just bug me, whatever you have, whatever you want to know. Able answer. Suzanne Hennigan says, "Well done. That has been helpful." Stick. Cynthia says, "Thanks for the pep talk." And mean for it too much to be a pep talk. Uh, but it's, yeah, look, it's motivation is a funny thing. The only way that I've been able to do anything long term, I think, especially these days with so many distractions, the fact that you're able to sit here even for an hour and do a tutorial, a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people can't sit for even 30 minutes, because there's so many distractions around that kind of demand our attention. We've got TV, we've got our phones, got people trying to call us. I think on average, people spend, read some article saying about 9 hours a day on their phones or something like that, on their electronic devices. So it's certainly difficult to concentrate. But the only thing in terms of getting better with watercolors, improving, set some time apart. Tell yourself, hey, Monday, Wednesdays, I'm gonna do this, and I do this with the lives as well. If I didn't set myself a time to do them, well, I'll probably still do them, but they'd just be less prepared. And it helps me knowing that, hey, look, at this particular time, I'm going to practice doing this. So there's no easy way to it. But the good thing is that watercolors is just so fun. So even with all the stuff, like I have a TV in the back, but I just disconnect the TV so I don't get feel like I can turn it on. So I barely ever, if I watch stuff, I'll maybe watch stuff on YouTube. Um, yeah. Anyhow, I think I might be babbling a bit. Sometimes I kind of get a bit distracted. Shanolan Martinez here as well. How you going, Shanolan? Good to see you. Um, and Shanolan sent me through one of her paintings to give her a bit of feedback was it yesterday? Yesterday, a couple of days ago. So I hope to see what comes out of that one, and that my advice was helpful to you. Um, yeah, sometimes I just make a bit of a judgment call and see if it works out or not. But yeah, we've also got so Anne Wu says so true. Yeah, um, Gary Gary says better mentor. Fantastic. Thanks very much. Thank you, Yar. Yeah, I'm just having a look. Not enlarging your name. Yanni, sorry. Got your name correctly. So, guys, this is this is almost dried, and I think I'm really gonna just shortcut this. I'm really gonna just shortcut this last section. It's already 11:30. I want to start the second one. I don't want to kind of hang around too long doing this, but I'm gonna be using this a smaller brush here. So this is just a little number 6 round brush, and we're gonna put in some final shadows, and hopefully this will bring everything together. And because we don't have super dark tones. We have some of these ones maybe here, but the shadow in the background, I think that will potentially bring it all together, give that full range of tone. Okay, and like I said, some areas of the sky which are lighter, look at that, it's beautiful because that compared to that, you have this contrast between light and dark areas in the background, soft and sharp areas, there are parts where it blends into the flowers, parts where it doesn't. That's the beauty of watercolors. David says, "No, you're doing great with the side conversation, Darren. Good party presentation. Thanks, fantastic. Thanks, David. Yeah, yeah. I'm big into uh, just ways that I can what am I trying to say? I guess ways that I can optimize doing things. And there's so many distractions and there are so many choices, I think, in modern life that it can be just overwhelming. I think we're lucky to have a lot of the choices that we have, but at the same time, you kind of have this paralysis at times where it's like I could do this, or I could do this, or I could paint this, and I could paint that. And at some point, I think it's more just finding a way to make decisions more effectively. That I've had troubles in the past. I just go for it. Margaret says, "This is another awesome tutorial. Thank you, Darren. Have a great weekend." Thanks, Margaret. And yeah, it's nice weather this weekend. It was crazy yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I think Thursday. We had this big storm in Melbourne. It just didn't look like it. It was sunny and really great the whole day, and then it just became terrible. Um, yeah. So let's go ahead and again, just some last little finishing touches. Okay. What I mixed up here on the side here is a little bit of neutral tint. You can see it here. See, it's neutral tint, but it's kind of, for some reason, this neutral tint that I've bought, it's got a cool kind of bias to it, which shouldn't be the case. With neutral tint, it should be neither cool nor warm, but it certainly looks pretty cool to me. Um, Now we want to get it pretty dark, almost like we don't want it to be a pasty kind of consistency, but dark enough so that it's going to be darker than everything else. Okay, and let's have a look at this shadow. And there's only one way to do this. We just really got to go for it. Drop that in there. Okay, looking all right there. I'm gonna just try to get in. Actually, where's that smaller? This might be a bit. Get me a bit more of a inconsistent edge in areas. That brush. Got brushes out. There we go. Pick a bit of this out. The trick is to not fiddle too much with it. Just go in and a few bits and pieces like that. Okay. Now, because the background has, it's more or less dry, but it does have some, wet areas in it. This is going to be interesting because it's going to blend some parts. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and do it. And this shadow actually comes all the way from the side of the pot here. Sort of starts here at the base. Yeah. 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 And then kind of goes some of these flowers here. It's very, I find, especially for beginners, it can be very scary to put in these dark shadows because one, sometimes you don't know exactly what you're doing. You don't know how dark you need to go, and it just looks overwhelming at the moment. Start panicking and you try to pick off paint and think, then it just turns into some mess. Leave it. So this bit here, see how it's just kind of, I've created some kind of sharp looking shapes with the shadow. Leave it. Let it let it do its thing. Don't fiddle with it. Bit of this stuff here kind of like blends into the background as well. No problem. Just let it go. Um, and then we've got, of course, some of these areas here in the pot. Might want a little more shadow on the pot here. This, yeah, okay, these little leaves, shadows of these little leaves. But um, yeah, trick is to just go in and quickly do it. Don't, it will look better if you do too much with it. Now, we look at the side of this pot. One of the things you'll find is that the pot actually has a little shadow running on the right hand side of it. Just this little area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften, add a bit of darkness on that right hand side of the pot. Soften down. And it perhaps may blend into this right hand side a bit more like that. But I'm not going to worry. We'll just let it mix around a bit. Get rid of a bit of the sharpness in there. I think it's important to do that. There we go. And we've got some perhaps on the flowers. You see there's like shadows maybe on the right hand side of them. These little petals. So little indications in here like that. You might find even some textured bits if you get a bit of water, mix a bit of that purple, dry it off a bit, and just scratch a bit of that, get a bit of that dry brush onto the page. You're going to get some of this effect. Okay. Um, but really that's done. I could sit here and I could just continue to add in more details. I could try to draw out some more of the flowers, but it's not necessary. I mean, some if you've one thing I've found out is sometimes you go over a petal and you get rid of some of that white and the yellow. So it's always good to have a bit of this stuff, a bit of white gouache. And what that does is that it allows you to further, you basically paint over the top of everything else. Basically paint over the top of everything else and get in a bit of that yellow back. You just mix that white gouache with a tiny bit of yellow, and you can recover some of that color that you might have gone over. So maybe I'll show you just what I mean very, very quickly. Here's some white gouache, just squeeze a bit here. Okay, let's mix a bit of this white gouache with some yellow. Yeah, a little bit of it. Don't want it to be too, something like that. And then what I can do is say if I want to just reshape this one, you can kind of bring it back out again a little bit. So, but the trick is to, yeah, just keep sparingly kind of do it because you can certainly overdo it and it looks a bit, then it looks more like a gouache painting. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just sparingly using it sparingly. I think that it's important. Um, Texture on the pot, dragging this across areas. Okay, so that's done for the first one. I hope that was helpful for everyone. Do let me know what you think. Robin Carroll says thank you. You're a teacher. Thank you, Robin. I'm glad you think so. I've come a long way. Very nervous when I was doing these lives to start off with, and I thought I'd forgotten to paint, forgotten how to draw and paint for the first couple of them. It looked terrible, but now um, with everyone's feedback and some of the positive suggestions I've had and some of the constructive feedback, I think certainly certainly feel a lot more confident doing these now. And a few more comments. Let me just have a quick look. There is just a few more comments. Well done, that's been helpful. Suzanne, Gail, Dennis says putting in the shadows is where I have difficulty. Shadows can be tricky, and I think you know, especially for this type of the shadows here, wait for the paper to dry a little bit, at least half to 3/4 dried, if not fully dried, before you put in some of these shadows. That way, it's not going to upset any of this mix. So some of the stuff I was doing here, where part of the flowers were still wet, that's something that you just get as you have more experience, and knowing that okay, it's wet enough so that it mixes, but it's not so wet that all this purple is going to run into it. So you kind of got to practice. I just what I used to do, I used to just get some paper and I would put a bit of water here, 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 and here, and I just wait, and I'll go in straight for that one, and then I'll wait a bit, and then I'll go in a little bit, wait a little bit longer for that one, and just see what happens. You find that the longer you wait before the thing actually dries, it will actually sorry, what am I trying to say? If the wetter the paper, the larger the spread of paint, the less control. Whereas if the paper is drier but still slightly wet, it will spread a little, but it will still stay roughly where you put it. What I'm trying to say. So the only way to find out how to do that is just through practice and experimentation. Shanolan says, please, love doing sunflowers, one of my favorite ones to do. Awesome, Shanolan. I know there's quite a few of you guys that wanted me to do some flowers. So I think Yvette, you asked me to do some flowers as well. So I thought, hey, let's go ahead and let's do one of these live. Might be easy for you to follow along. So Yay Art says, hi, Gail Dennis, great points. Thank you. Not a problem. Yeah, Art, I think you've come for the previous ones. So nice to see you. I'll check out your channel afterwards as well. Um, Janet Marie, Janet Marie says, love your style, Darren. We'll try this over the weekend. Awesome. And yeah, let me know how you go, Janet. A few more comments. Kind of enlarge. Put my head closer. Let me. Savlan, Sulan, Beverly, thank you for your tips, gouache and shadows. Not a problem. Carol Wilk, I'm enjoying this. Love what you said about making time to paint. Yeah, I think that's one of the trickiest mental things you have to do. Anyone can paint, anyone can improve and get better at it. Um, it's just whether you set that time aside and find some time to do it, essentially. Anyway, let's go move on to the second one. I'm glad to hear you guys went all right. I would love to see how you go. Paint in your, if you upload it, there's a group, facebook.com/group/watercolor mentor. Post on there. I love to see what your versions are and any feedback that you have for me as well. What you'd like to see in the future. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Kate says, thanks, Darren. Kate Parbury, thanks, Darren. Enjoy the flower loose class. Righto, so we're going to go ahead and start the drawing for the next one. It's 11:50. I hope I can finish this off in about an hour. I've taped down some paper. I've actually done this scene some time ago in the past, but another photograph where it was kind of like an overcast day. So let me just shift everything so then I can, so just bear with me while the camera kind of move around a little bit maybe. Larger bit of paper. This is quarter sheet, but I think the camera should be set up like okay. I sit it like another day. It's just the right height so you kind of see what's going on. But my head's probably going to get in the way from the corner. No big deal though, because you will still be able to see pretty much everything. That corner, that little corner there is just going to be the sky. Just going to be the sky. Bit of blue. Turkey. Um, this is the other one I did. This was like many years back, and I thought we could build on this one, improve it a little bit. I did this really quickly, and I wasn't too happy. I wasn't too happy with the amount of detailing on it. I thought that I could have made the doors on the right hand side just look a bit more pop out a little bit more. But I did like this sense of light coming across from that right hand side. It's kind of similar to this photograph look. Um, and I'm gonna have to actually make the I'm gonna have to make the photo a bit smaller because it's way. But again, if you've got the reference photo up there, I've posted on community tabs on Facebook and the discussion page. Bring up that photograph, have a quick look at it, and I'll just go through um, mentally, mentally my process, what I'm thinking about, and how I'm going to break this down, because it's quite complicated. On first glance, it looks very complicated, but we're going to simplify it down a lot. It's the only way to kind of tackle this type of scene, simplify it down. Now, what I want to do is, firstly, for the reference, actually, I may enlarge the reference very quickly for the moment while I talk about it. Then I'll bring it back down again. Here we go. So if we look at the reference, we have got this tower. This is St. Mark's Square, by the way. I took this photo when I was in Venice a couple of years ago. It was my first ever trip to Europe. It was amazing, and I hope to go back again. I love traveling to new places when I get time off work and kind of things. So um, there is this tower in the center. I can't remember what the tower's called. I know this is St. Mark's Square, though, but it's all in light, and there's a little shadow running across the bottom right-hand corner there. I think that we will stay faithful to the reference, preserve that light. Um, and what's interesting is that the background there, if you look at the sky is actually tonally it's darker than the buildings. It's an interesting scene. I don't know whether the uh, the sky maybe just underexposed or something like that, but it's very rare where you get a reference picture that works out 100% for watercolors off the car, off the bat. You take a picture, snap a picture, and you think, wow, perfect. There's always something that you got to change. But what I like about this photo is that there is a strong sense of light and dark, and I think that makes it so much easier for beginners, and also it makes a more effective painting when you've got a strong sense of light and dark. Simplify things. Essentially, we've got all these buildings on the left. We've got the Doge's palace in the background there. We've got a bit of the palace on that right hand side, sort of peeking out. And then we've got these large building here on that right hand side with all these doors and windows and stuff like that, all in the darkness. So let's go ahead and get in the drawing and you know, give this a crack. Okay, so the tower is, the it goes out of the scene. Let's make it smaller. We don't normally you don't want to make the tower go all the way out. It just looks a bit out of place. So I'm an amateur, very very amateur, perhaps beginner photographer. So I didn't keep this in mind last time. So that's the thing. You can never get a perfect photo. If you do, it's great. So let's put in the where the buildings finish. Roughly, um, it's not a third of the way through the paper. certainly not a third, but a bit less than a third of the way through the paper. So the foreground, I would say, begins about here. So just draw one line, one horizontal line going across the paper like that. Okay, you can see okay. The stream looks okay. Let me know if you're having trouble seeing. I'll draw like a little bit darker. Uh, I try to draw a little bit darker anyway for you guys watching along. It can be tricky to see lead pencil. Yeah, okay, fantastic. So horizon line is in. Fantastic. Now how in the world are we going to reduce this all down? This is, you know, you look at it and you think, Jesus, this is like a million windows and doors. You know, you've got this, you know, what we're gonna look at it in terms of shapes. And if we simplify this down, we've got these two sections that just come in, these two buildings, big building here, big building there. It kind of comes in. That can be one shape, and then this shape in the background for the palace, and then we've got this tower here. That's it. So let's just start and we'll work it out as we go. The easiest thing the thing I do, I just try to do the easiest things first. So we know the portion wise on the paper, this tower is about perhaps nearly two-thirds of the way, nearly two-thirds of the way through the page. It kind of starts like here and finishes perhaps here. Okay, it's here. A little trick I do as well. I sort of like put these dots on the page that can help you to sort of draw in the shapes. Might be too wide as well, so you know you kind of just trying to get in some real basic elements in here. The main thing I want to do is just make sure that the top part is not too um, it's not all the way out of the page. Okay, so I need to draw that top part in first like this. Okay, something like that. Gone too far overboard actually. Something like that. Triangle. If you can draw a triangle, fine. Finish it off at the bottom like this. Okay. Go in and then we can start drawing the other bits. So this is the section at the bottom, the kind of rectangle shape, and then there's like there, that bit there, and then there's this bit here. It's kind of four, three, four darker sort of segments in there. We've got this kind of pillar running up the side there. It's very loose, guys. We're not trying to get in an exact representation. I'm not going to try to pull off a Canaletto painting. I was at um, the British Museum when I was over there a few years back, and my God, there was some beautiful paintings. And it's like what I like is that the Canaletto would just capture you know, they just capture the time that they kind of grew up, I guess, and it was just amazing just to see. It's kind of like a time machine because obviously, well, I don't know, I don't think cameras invented back then. I'm not sure, but just to see how people were dressed up and carriages and horse carriages and all that kind of stuff. It's just incredible history behind the place. So we've got now this tower. There's these little windows. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. There's 8 windows there. Okay, if we want to be specific, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah, something like that. Not even gonna like really draw them in. I'm just gonna put a little dot here. Do that with the paintbrush later. They're these little kind of arches that run. There's like four kind of arches run down. There's one, two, three, four. Um, that run down like that. That's about it. I don't think I'm really going to do anything else with that. We'll do it. We'll get in more detail with the paintbrush later. But this little line here is just to indicate the shadow. Yeah, just to indicate the shadow. Okay, and remind me not to go over the whole thing. Perhaps a bit of the side, slight exposed area on the side as well would be nice, like that. Let me just see, is this going to work? A little bit, yeah. So we've got a bit of the side in, very, very subtle indication of the side. Make it look more three-dimensional. Um, okay, should be okay. Here, of course, we've got darker segments. It's four little windows. Here, let's start getting in the palace. Now we can just look at where it falls in regards to the windows. I haven't got the windows in exactly, so it's not perfect, but roughly on terms of the tower, it's about maybe a third of the way, more than a third of the way up tower, so something like that. Little just an indication like that. There's a window, and then we've got these little windows coming across like that. Bigger arches near the ground there. There we go. And then this building here, let's see, how does it finish? It goes all the way out. We look at the edge of the paper, it finishes off on that edge. Just put it, kind of indicate where it is at the edge and indicate where it starts here. And then from there, you can kind of draw a line straight at. Yeah, got a decent little estimation now of where it is. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you just have to kind of yeah, you have to try to get it somewhat accurate. This one kind of starts here. So we're doing the top floor, okay, and then we're gonna do there's three floors, one, two, three, split into roughly three sections. One, two, three, roughly like that. Yeah, let's try that. One, three. Okay, good. More darkness or something in there. Yeah. And of course we have, look at this. This is where people start to freak out. All these windows, headache. But simplify them down. We've just got these kind of like pillars that just run down the page like this. They in a sense just kind of separate out the windows. At the bottom there's more of this frame or something. Oh, it's like a ledge. Yeah. There. As we go towards the back, what happens is that the pillars then become closer to one another, like that. But near to the front, you're going to be able to see more of them spaced out. So that's a perspective thing. There, there. So we can draw like a bit more detail for the ones in the front. But yeah, as we get further to the back, don't worry about it. All you need to do is just draw a few lines running downwards like this. Okay, something like that. And the last bit at the bottom, of course, we've got like a kind of, here it looks like a shade or something. There's like a restaurant over here. Again, it's really up to you how much detail that you want to put in here. I'm gonna, I want to simplify this down a bit. Okay. And we have some activity going on in there, but I'm not going to define all huge amount of what's going on. Again, these arch doors, simplify them down. Simplify. I don't want to. One, I want to make sure that I'm getting most of the detail in with the paintbrush, but having enough of a kind of structure. And then at the same time, I don't want to define too much. A few little figures here, scribble some of those in like that. Okay, let's check the chats. How are we all doing with drawing? let me know how you're carrying on with it. Also good for me to check that you're running. Good, all good. But I hope my kind of my my explanations of how I draw and simplify the drawing down and take measurements, that helps you in the future. Just to simplify down perspective. Also have to straighten out. I think there's some camera lens distortion on the edges where yeah, sometimes buildings will kind of curve and things like that. So I don't really want that in the painting. So you got to change that up, straighten some things. I think this is looking pretty good at the moment. I think the most challenging thing would probably be this and getting this in the background, but it's not really. It's not going to be all that much work because we're going to just do it pretty quickly. Do it pretty quickly. But yeah, yeah, if you have any questions, do let me know. I think we're going okay with the chats though. Yethart says, "Wow, good perspective. I love architecture art. Good, some. Thank you, Yeth. Questions. Let me have a look here. Oh, there's actually a few chats I haven't read yet. Um, mean didn't mean police order, but the best of me. Ah, sunflowers is one of my favorite flowers to watercolor. Cool. um, uh, V. Oh, good to see you, V. What a photo. Going to get some work on perfecting perspective in this one. Awesome. I hope it's helpful, V, and just some of, yeah, like what I was saying before, how I'm measuring out to make sure. Looking at the photo when I know the edge of the building finishes right here in the corner, a little bit left to the corner, and then you're putting a dot there, and then you put a dot here roughly around where you think it stops. Okay, it does not have to be perfect. A roughly, it's fine. But if you follow this method, things will look somewhat realistic. um, the more effort you put into it in the exact measurements. Some people even bring out rulers. I know a lot of professional artists. What's his name? Duval. He actually traces all his paintings. He has a projector, and he will just trace, um, painstakingly just trace everything, and he comes up with some amazingly beautiful, detailed paintings. I don't have the patience. Um, I really don't have the patience for that, but I really respect artists that can sort of sit down and do that. Uh, Fantastic. Kate says, "Have to leave. Would like to do later." No worries, Kate. I'll catch you at another stage then. Thank you for joining. Um, and Gail says, "Love this one. Nice practice with perspective and love to draw buildings." Me too. I love buildings. That's why you see so many of them in my scenes. Um, Shanolan says, "What colors would you mix to get gray, black and gray?" So, to get a gray or a really dark color like black, just mix your three primaries together. So if you got a red, yellow, and a blue, mix those together. Just make sure it's a darker blue, like an ultramarine or a cobalt blue, and you'll be able to get some very, very dark color. You can also mix ultramarine or cobalt blue with a bit of burnt umber, and that gets you a really nice gray as well. Mix up your grays and your dark colors. I wouldn't recommend buying a tube of black paint because it just looks a bit dull. It doesn't have, normally most, like if it's a lamp black or something like that, which I think is made from charcoal, if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't separate out into some of the colors that its constituents. So like if you mix up your primaries, you can get some amazing looking grays and amazing looking colors that separate out, because gray is basically every color. You think about it, gray is every single color, that's just mixed together, because everything you mix just turns into gray. Um, yeah, we talk about. So we got another question. Let me look at love architecture. Yeth says, "I love architecture art." Good perspective. What a huge help for your explanations. What your huge help your explanations are. From Gail, I've learned so many new things on measuring and perspective. Awesome, Gail. I'm good to hear. Good to hear that you're picking up something helpful from these, which is why I like to do these live. I think just being able to come up with some of these answers off the cuff and explaining them in a more casual way, it will help you guys out a bit better. V says, I'm curious to see how you got all those windows in without using ink. I assume that it will be wet on dry. Yes, so it will be like a combination of wet and wet and wet and dry. So we're gonna do both. Good to have a good combination. First time on your live chat, says Jamie or Jamie. Jamie, sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Jamie Peraza. Thanks for explaining the perspective. You're welcome, Jamie or Jamie, and thank you for joining. Yeah, thank you, V. Supportive message there from you. Righto. There's a question also from. I'll just quickly go through the Facebook chats. There's a few more here. Enjoying. Carol says, enjoying this. Love what. Oops, sorry, I read that one. Is the video recording available or not? Says Babita Agawa. Yes, it is. Yeah, you can watch it afterwards. It will be available online. So just check it out afterwards. Saulan Beverly says angles are challenging and dimensions great help. Yeah. The drawing is crucial. These type of paintings, you need to get the drawing somewhat accurate. David Snittle says, does paper on a pad such as Arches Watercolor 140 pound need to be stretched on the pad by washing it with water? All over, or can you just do your painting on the pad without doing that? David, I never stretch my paper. I tape this down to make it easier for the demonstrations, but yeah, like actually, I might even just put a bit of glue tack or just like double-sided tape on the back of the corners. One, I think stretching the paper, it kind of, for me, I think it wastes time because, yeah, I mean, it takes a while, obviously, to like wet it and wait for it to dry. And the second thing is that I don't think it's really necessary. People always say if you don't stretch the paper, paper buckles and stuff. Yes, it does. It buckles a little bit, but if you've got tape on it, um, you're not really going to notice that. And then it dries. When the paper dries, it's like a little bit warped, right? But then if you just get something like a weight, you just get like a whole bunch of books, place them on top, just leave that overnight, flattens out perfectly. So, yeah. Have a look here. Darren. Oh, David says, Darren, stream stopped at 5:12 PST after I added my question. Can you email me? Can you email me, Dave? Did you I hope you yeah, I hope the stream's still working. I think everyone can hear me, Dave. Maybe I just misunderstood your comment. Uh Maybe I just misunderstood your comment. Stream started again. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, it's just annoying because I streamed to two different I streamed both to YouTube and to Facebook, and so what happens is there are sometimes I think some issues with that, but yeah, I do my best because if I just stream to Facebook, then I miss out because most of you guys are watching me on Facebook, and I don't want you guys to kind of miss out on it on the stream. So I kind of do it to both, and that's why there's sometimes some technical issues with the software and things like that. Anyhow, I'm kind of chatting for a bit too much, I think, again. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's finish off this drawing. The Doge's Palace, we want to end up putting in where it finishes. So it finishes, so it's about a third of the way into the paper, say about here. So 1/3 about where the Doge's Palace starts, building here in the back. And then we've got the tower here. roughly about a third. It's probably more than a third in. It's kind of about here. Let's just mark it out here. That's where it starts. So we can draw a line that comes up across like this. The domes here are super important. We know the domes are above the height of this building here, so we can get one dome here, another overlapping dome like this, that. Okay. Not to say you have to get them in exactly as well. It just sort of depends on the angle of the photograph. That sometimes you things will look higher or lower than at times, depending on the angle of the photo that's taken. There we go. And there's a bit of the top of that of the palace domes there. The center part of the palace, roughly here, and you got these kind of darker windowy sort of area like that there. Then we've got section here. That's the door, kind of a arch. Then on both sides, we've got two. One, they're a little bit smaller. One, two. That's how we simplify them out. So we've got one big one in the middle, two to the side. And if you do the middle one first, then you know, like, okay, you can estimate the middle area pretty easily because you just cut that in half. We'll do the middle bits. If you start here, you might end up, you might end up with not enough space for all the stuff on the left. So that's what I tend to do. I tend to just go with the stuff from left to right first. Scribble in a few of these little doorways like that. On the top, there's even these four, like 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of sections like that here. There's all this kind of pointy sort of things up there, and there's another dome actually here as well. So we can get in that dome just quite quickly. Doesn't require too much detail. It's further back in the background, so we don't need all that much in there. Okay, and remember, we're not trying to draw everything in really. We're just trying to get in an indication of where everything is. Okay. It's not certainly not the most accurate rendition. Okay, but we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. I think we'll be able to pull something together. Okay. But again, I don't want to spend all too much time on it. Doing it live. Okay, so that's done. What do we have here on this side? Well, we've got this large strip of buildings. We know that it perhaps finishes around here, okay, because there's a section here that has more buildings in the background near to the palace. So here, roughly here, where does it finish? So look at where the buildings finish. And here, it looks like roughly in the center of the page, yeah? Roughly center. Let's put a mark here. Right there. We'll draw this, that line coming down. That's it. That whole set of buildings is done. There's three, again, like three sections. So we can separate that into 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. That there, that's one floor. That there. Or perhaps goes more into the ground as well. And then, look, this is simplicity at its best. Just putting in these doors down the bottom like that. Okay, and then we've got, of course, little ones here running across there. So I'm not trying to get in anything super realistically. It's more just an indication here. But again, as we go down to the back, the windows become smaller, less visible on that side. There is a building here. It's rectangle like that. And you've got an edge, a side to it like this. Got another building here. Down. A building here. Kind of like a roof top or something that comes down. And then we've got just other kind of buildings like that. Just further back, and you can barely kind of see what is happening. It's not important. Not really that important. All we got to make sure is that we've got some kind of receding buildings here, and then we've got the palace, which of course is one of the main players here. That. So we got most of it in, but what are we missing? We're missing people. So we're going to put the heads of some of the figures in. Um, let's have a look. Where are we going to put them? Roughly here on the this little. So where the building's finished down the bottom, that's where you want to generally put the people in. Heads. Someone here. Maybe these people are talking or something. Where you put the heads makes a difference. So I've made the head sort of slant forwards a bit. Looks like they might be talking about something. Um, there's a kind of, it looks like this is a tourist or someone kind of got his backpack on, arms popping out the side there, and then you've got a couple of legs like that. Join them up, make it easier. And then he's got a couple of these suitcases. It's enormous suitcases just lugging around Venice. Recommend traveling with so many things. Bug me. There we go, couple there. You know, and that's the great thing about having all these figures in here. You can now just have a bit of a play around and create your own scene. You know, pick out things that you like, pick out things that you don't like, and go with it. You know, I think having maybe a big one here, a larger figure here would be interesting because we don't have any larger figures, do we? Mainly like these smaller ones up in the back. But this may help kind of lead the scene, lead you into the scene. T-shirt, couple of arms, maybe one arm forwards, one arm at the back there. You know, here I've made an error where I've made a figure, the head is too high. Really important to line up all the heads of these figures so that they are roughly on the horizon line, because this is how you imply like a flat scene. If you're drawing or you're painting, it's just a perspective kind of trick where if you have all the heads in the same height roughly, the ground looks flat. You have them all starting to increase in height at the back, it look like you're going up a hill and down a hill if you do it the opposite way. Okay, here's a leg and a leg here. And a guy just walking maybe towards, a bit lopsided. Lopsided, has been drinking too much wine. We've got another person here. Let's have a look here. Just put in a leg. That maybe a leg running towards the back, walking left and right. It's kind of important, in my opinion, to make them look different. Okay, simplify the figures down as well so that you've got you know, the bodies are kind of just square rectangle shapes. The legs, just one here, one towards the back. Just triangle shapes kind of for the legs. I tend to look at them as just triangular sort of things. There, and bottom there, so there. You have someone like, you know, like a dress or something. Oops. That's pretty basic, yeah. Another one here, another person. Let's make another person here. Perhaps walking into the scene. That's walking in. Maybe this person's holding a handbag or something here, like that. I want to put a bigger person here as well, overlapping. I'm just standing here, thinking, where am I going to go today? Here we go. Balance. Some in the back, some in the front. Too many in the back, put one in the front. So I'm kind of thinking, this is what I'm thinking in my head. There's one. So there's a lot of, there's so many figures in here, and you know, certainly we're not any shortage of people in this scene. Good to also put a few in the back like that. So I think I'm going to stick with that. I don't want to overdo it. Okay, but that's kind of the gist of the drawing. I hope that was helpful. So it's a very crucial part because I'm already kind of planning out in my head how this is going to work out. placing the figures knowing the shadows run to the left as well. There's going to be a shadow like shape maybe coming out here, here on the ground. Where's the shadow actually go? It starts from here. You look at it on the base of this tower, and then it kind of finishes here. So that's something I'm going to have to kind of keep in mind as well. Like here, here, it's looking, does that look all right? I think it looks okay. So I might use that same shadow pattern. I like how the shadow pattern connects the left and the right hand side. If we made a shadow that's too small, I'd have to make more shadows on the figures. So yeah, I like this shadow pattern. I think it will work fine. It will work fine. Let me just draw that line a bit more up. Yeah, and just using these here, we're going to shadow. So important to make some of these shadows, especially with these sharper shadows. They have to be have to make sense. Like I can't just have it going all the way towards too far towards the left. So they have to be in proportion to the size of these buildings. You have a large tower, you see how it casts a bit of a shadow there. It's smaller, it's not going to do that. It's may cast it up to here. So this set of buildings is fairly tall, so it's going to cast a shadow down here, but it also depends on the sun, how high it is on the horizon line as well. So yeah, anyway, I think we will get cracking with painting, everyone. Solan says head levels is useful too. Never knew that. Yeah, it's a common thing that will really improve your art. Sorry, your sketches in terms of your perspective. Because a lot of beginners I see, they often don't take note of the heads on the horizon line, and then you put a head here, you put one up here. Suddenly you got someone flying here, and you got someone here, like on the ground. The only time you make the head a bit smaller is if you want to, if you got like a child. Here, look. Maybe we put a child here. Little child standing here, for example. So that child's going to be, the head's going to be smaller. Not smaller, but it's going to be further down, like that. Okay. So the way you think about it is that you're going to be roughly the same height as these people here. Okay, so that's why you're seeing their heads are on the horizon line. You're looking at the horizon line, and they're all kind of in a row. As long as they're slightly, some of them can be slightly higher, lower, depending, because obviously some people are going to be taller and shorter. Keep them roughly around the horizon line, you'll be good. Okay. Let's get started with the painting and have some fun putting in these initial colors. Time is it's 12:30. I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but I'm gonna have a quick look at the chats. I think we are pretty good. Natalie says stream did not stop; it just started again, and it's fine. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think some kind of like buffering issues on Facebook's part. Fantastic. Ooh, I have a quick look at some of these. Quick look at some of these chats. Sorry, guys, I've not kept up on some of these. Let me just see where am I up to. V's asking, when you pick a photo, you are painting in watercolors with all the details. Is there a reasoning that you go into deciding you will watercolor paint or choose the pen and wash method instead? It's more like a subjective choice, V, like a stylistic choice. I think with watercolors, I tend to pick subjects that might have a looser sort of less detailed, or I can get away with a bit of less detail because that's just my style. I'll try to get it in with indicate it with less detail and try to get it to flow together and things. So this one, in a sense, is going to be a bit more detailed, I think, than my normal paintings because we've got quite a lot in here. But if you were to do this one in line and wash, can you imagine there's a lot of detail that you'll be able to get in here? I'm just checking my hand because last time I somehow got all this blue paint on my hand. Um, you're going to have to draw in all of these little things, separations and everything like that. I think it looked beautiful in line and wash as well. But I just felt like doing this one in watercolors. I think understanding both is fine because actually when you're painting, you're drawing as well with a brush, basically. So, but you're focusing more on tone um, and form rather than using your line work to draw out details. It develops a different set of skills, slightly different set of skills. If you could share your artist process in that role, it would help me. I never know when it is right to use pen and wash versus watercolor. Hmm. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's a stylistic thing, but um, certainly for like architectural stuff, I think line and wash works really nicely with buildings because you can really define the edges of the buildings and the details of the buildings, and then you can just go over with the watercolors with a quick splash of color, and it won't affect the detailing of the buildings. The line wash is if you want to identify what's going on more. Okay, if you want it to look more realistic and you want it to look more representational, I think line and wash is better bang for buck. You can do that very well with watercolors as well. It just takes a bit longer because you're putting in most of the details with your brush. So yeah, I hope that kind of helps you. Um, Fantastic. So let's get cracking. I think I've said that a few times now. Let's put in some colors. And the first thing I'm going to do is the warm colors. So let's get a bit of this. This is just of, is it um, burnt sienna, burnt sienna. What I think the color of the base of this building. I'm gonna put a little red in there as well. I have a bit of English red. No, that was my other palette does have it. A little bit of that in there. Maybe some carbazole orange. A little bit of this carbazole orange to get that vibrancy to pop a bit more. But keep it pretty light. Okay, pretty light. Um, and it actually has a bit of this white section up the top here. I didn't see that before, but yeah, that's about there. Okay, there we go. A bit of that. Come down. That. Yeah. And keep it quite light because it is it's like one of the lightest parts of the painting. There, we've got a bit of that here as well. So, some of that those arches in there quickly. This is what I mean when I say you kind of like you're drawing with the paintbrush as well. So when you're practicing your drawing skills, it's not all in vain. Pretty crucial. I'm trying to improve my drawing skills as well. Um, it's crucial. A crucial part of the painting process. There we go. What else do we got in here? We got the top part, which is kind of like a grayish color mix. Some neutral tint up here, and let's drop some of that in for the top. Kind of like a cooler gray color, isn't it? There we go. That's a bit of that top section. Great. I might like soften off a bit edge as well, just a tiny bit. Soften that off like that, and good, good. Bit more edge of that edge like that. Bit of darkness, edge there. Also a bit of darkness underneath here as well. See how I'm holding the brush like a little bit closer down as well? This allows me to get extra detail and focus in on areas. that. A smaller brush might actually work better for this, guys. If you do have a smaller brush, I'm just trying to do it all in one hit. Here's the windows. 1, darker as well. 2, 3, 4. Okay. I'm hoping this will kind of blend in a bit of everything. Look. Right, I'll probably have to go back into it later and redo some of the parts of the windows, but I'm just trying to do this all as efficiently as possible. I mean, this is spread too much again. Sometimes that happens. You have to estimate roughly how wet the paper is. Anyway, let's go in and I'm going to put some of this, I'm going to put a bit of, it's a kind of titanium white color, which I'll mix titanium white with a bit of yellow here to create a kind of a more subdued yellow, more titanium white. I do have another palette with some Naples yellow actually, but I don't have it close by at the moment. I'm going to make one up. Kind of looks a bit like a Naples yellow, yeah? And we'll put some of that on this as well. By this time, you'll notice that the base of the base of this building is kind of dried. You're not actually getting too much mixing going on. Maybe in some areas, but generally speaking, you're fine. Yeah, bit there. Let's get some bit of this bluish, this kind of purple color in. I'm trying to also keep the colors like fairly unsaturated at this stage. So then with the figures, I might put in some more darker figures or some more saturated colors in the figures. So let's keep it this kind of color. It's kind of like a yellowy, kind of like a creamy white color. Not too much saturation in there. Again, that's too much. So I'm just going to water this down a bit like that. This whole set of buildings just becomes one big thing like that. And the cool thing here is we can do the shadow for the tower as well. If you look at the tower, it sort of casts a shadow to the left-hand side on top. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of like this purple color and just drop that in there. Let's just see that soft shadow. It's not that vibrant. It's just a softer kind of purple that I put in here. This will kind of spread into that scene and take over part of it like this. Okay. Not overdo it though, Darren. Good. So now I'm going to go through and do these other buildings with a bit of a warmer color as well. A bit of this, the same color, this background yellowish sort of, it's basically a bit of buff titanium with yellow mixed into it. And don't, we can leave some white areas as well. Oops, too far into the sky. Bit of white on the paper, but just cutting around because we're not even at the stage where we've got the darks in just yet. I will put some in though in this stage just to get in some softer windows, softer shapes. This side as well is going to actually be a fair bit lighter. That is too vibrant. Just water that down a bit. Bring that across. Holding the brush by the end as well helps you to get in a looser shape. The paper is rough, not rough, but it's a medium textured paper, which means that it just means that it basically is, you get these little nice bits and pieces in there that don't really, paper sort of skips over, brush skips over. Okay, a little bit of color in there. Now, what I'm going to do is let's bring this down into the ground. This kind of whitish buff titanium color, let's mix it out with some bit of yellow, tiny bit of yellow. Okay. That. I'm using the same brush. You notice I've used this same brush for the whole painting. It goes to show, I mean, sometimes these companies will try to sell you 1,000,001 brushes, but I always go back to the same brushes, same symbol brushes, unless you're painting. There are these like mini brushes that you can get these on these little. Trying to say set of these little mini brushes that people use for detailing and things. If you're painting very small, yeah, they help. Other than that, you just need for most painting, it's just a bit of uh, large mob brush, a few round brushes, maybe a bunch of flat brushes, and like like a little detailing brush, a rigger perhaps. I don't need that much. I get lazy sometimes and I just don't change brushes, but it also creates losing a large brush like this creates a loose sort of look, which I like. Simplify things down. Good. That's all in. Now, what we want to do, this area is starting to dry. I'm going to pick up a little bit of purple mixed with neutral tint. Okay, it's just kind of this leftover color on the palette. And let's try to, actually, if I spray down the paper would be better. It's just started to dry. It's quite warm here at the moment in Melbourne, believe it or not. So things are just drying. I need to get more water. Things are just drying quite quickly. And I want some wet and wet stuff happening. Okay. Now the paper's perhaps too wet. Smaller brush. We need a little one. This is a number 6. Number 6 round brush. 6 round brush. Excellent. Just going to check the comments. V says makes sense. That will help me out with the comments on the line and wash, when to use it, when to use watercolors. Fantastic. And let me know if you're watching on Facebook as well. If you're still following along, you know, if you have any questions, um, let's go ahead and continue with this one. Now, this is I've let the water soak in a little bit, okay, and let's pick up this color that I said I had before. It's kind of like a purple, dulled down purple with some neutral tint in there. And I can just use this to create some contrast, some darker sections in the buildings like this. It's kind of indicating the flaws. That 1, 2, here at the top as well. Just push off a bit. Okay. Start actually putting in some small details for the windows and what have you here as well. So, and you know, because it's wet and wet, it's going to sort of blend and mix around a little bit, which I do want. So go down to the back, it just becomes a little more subdued, just closer the line. See, kind of softer as well and less dark there. Bit here, put a bit here. I always try my best to get in as much as I can wet into wet. I love that style, and it's just I think it's one of the great strengths of watercolor. So that's why I try to do as much as I can wet into wet. Okay, there we go. It's a bit there, here. There's figures here, remember, so just be mindful that you're cutting around them, and a little shade here, a little shade thingo. You know, that's it. That's that set of buildings. We'll get in more detail later, but I think that's okay for the time being. And we can do the same thing. Let's put in a bit here for the these buildings. So there's a bit of neutral tint there. Just a little dry the brush off as well. That helps to bit better. Move around too much. That's too sharp. I don't want that. That's part of the arch. Great. have some sharpness here, and we can have softness in this one. There. Find some of those edges a little bit. Base of it here. Sharpness around the edges. Bit here. Some softness going into the background like this. Beautiful. And this one here, some softness because it's soft in there. And a bit more here. One thing I've not gotten to do is that it actually is lighter inside here on the left hand side. Let me get a tissue. Subtle sort of difference, but there is a bit of light kind of coming over on that left hand side. Lift off a bit there, like just to imply some of that good. Gotten about just lift off there. Good. Okay, there's this section here which is it's kind of darker. Yeah. And at this stage, you know, we're not really focusing on details. Little bit, but not much because we want to wait till the painting is completely dried before we get in all the sort of details. But this is just playing around with some tones and some wet and wet effects while the paper is still doing its thing, still wet. It just creates some more subtle transitions that you can't really get otherwise later on. You know, even here, see, look, I've not, you know, put in some of these bits and things on the tower too accurately yet, but you still kind of see what is going on. Have a look here on the left-hand side. We've got a few oopsies, dark. Let's get in a bit of neutral tint. Drop in a bit here, here, in areas. Quickly just get in a line there for the floors. One, two, three. Little, little doorways, things. Bit of wet and wet section. There's another shade there. There. Vertical lines running down, melting into the scene. It's going to the background. It's just more blurry and less detailed, so you don't have to really do all that much with these buildings. A few little dots and things here and there. This rooftop, bit of a rooftop like that. There's some kind of tower or something on statue on top of that one there. Let's get in a bit of the sky now. Let's get in the sky and we're going to use cerulean blue, a nice granulating cerulean for this. You know how you're doing. How's the stream going on YouTube? Is it sorry, on Facebook? Is it still looking okay for you guys? YouTube as well. I'm half like worried that the thing is going to cut out. It's been working fine. It's just because I've upgraded the some software on my computer. It's just been anyway. Let's put in some of the sky. This is going to be fun. Let's go with, firstly, I'll actually use this same brush, this number 10 round brush, to do some cutting around here. A little bit of little spray. Okay, to create some softness up there. Maybe some blending as well. Don't mind it if it blends a bit into the buildings. This is some cerulean blue. Just mix a good bit of this up. Now, we've got to make the sky darker than the buildings. And especially around this tower here. This is going to help draw it out. It's just cerulean blue. Okay. Negative, it's like negative painting. Okay. And create clouds and things as well if you want. You can pre-wet a section with water, spray it down, and then just drop the paint straight in there. I love doing skies. It's so much fun. Okay, around the top, the tower. You gotta be more careful with the tower. That a little more careful with the tower because it just has to be defined better. That good. So I'm putting in a lot of effort to just tell this one a bit more. That. Good. Wish I could move the paper around. You're at home, just switch it around. Sometimes the angles that you're painting will make it easier if you're painting on a different angle to get in these shapes. Okay, that's looking all right. Just fix this up. And again, we can also get some of this stuff in with white gouache later if you end up mixing up, not getting going over some of these white sections a bit much. You can go in later with some white gouache, no problem. Okay. More water up in these sections. I want some of this to just mix a bit better. Okay, good. And used up all the cerulean. Good. Yeah, drop some of that in. Yeah. Down the bottom, soften areas more. Carry. Cut around the buildings too. Around them. A bit more striking the sky when we've got some variances in tone, and I do like granulation as well, so you can see some of this blue is cerulean blue is granulating very nicely against the sky. There. More here. Good. Soften. A bit more, maybe a bit darker up on the edge. Soften it down. A bit more darkness. More darkness up here. You can even add in a bit of ultramarine or something in here too. Darken up some spots. It's going to be interesting. A lot of this will just dry. Oops. A bit of that paper has come off. Good, good, good. Righto. So I think that's it for the sky. Looking pretty good. Yeah, like I said, if you do think you want a bit more strength in the sky, you can add some ultramarine in spots, or even a bit of purple in areas as well will be fine. Lavender, I do have a bit of lavender too that I play around with. Yeah, just keep it a little bit darker around the tower. But I will leave it as that, just a simple, simple sort of sky, let it dry. Now the next step that we're going to do is just go ahead and do the people. So we'll just put some colors into the figures here and there. I'm going to do this quickly and finish it off. So the figures here will go with some fun colors. Okay, now for this one here. I'm actually going to not use too fond of a color, but just a grayish sort of color for that one. Now the figures that are in the shadow, which is basically all this stuff, all the figures here, I'm not going to trying to put too many vibrant colors in here because we're going to have to go over the top of them anyhow. So I'm just going to darken them down. Let's maybe put a bit more blue into this one here. There. There. Some other color there for that figure. Bit of orange maybe for this one here. Some 𝗣𝗔𝗧𝗥𝗘𝗢𝗡 orange. This one here. Okay. There, just a bit of color there. We can have a bit of some lavender. Bit of a lavender color for this figure here. You know, bringing some of that cerulean down the page as well, so that we've got a bit of that in the figures. Okay. But they're quite, you can see that they're quite similar. Nothing that sticks out too much, just warm and cool colors interacting and mingling with each other. Okay. And what I'm going to do is start putting in this shadow shape, which will, it's my most favorite part of the painting, getting in the shadows. I love painting the shadows and seeing how it all comes together nicely, hopefully. Okay. If you're still watching along, let me know. Let me know how you're doing. Or even if you're watching along later, certainly love to hear how you went. Let's do this. Before I do, actually, I'm just going to put in a bit of darkness for the legs, or for some of these, just a bit of indication there. We're going to have to redo this, more likely redo it later. Noting with the dark shadow that we're going to get over the top, this may obliterate some of this stuff. Okay, let's pick up neutral tint and I'm going to mix a bit of I'm going to mix a little bit of purple in here, kind of like a neutral purple cut mix. Fantastic. Oh, Ellen, how you doing, Ellen? Ellen Whitney's here in the chat, still here. It's coming along. Awesome. Ellen's one of my patrons over on Patreon. So good to see you here. And if you have questions, certainly pop them in the chats. We're almost done with this. Okay, once we get the shadow in and we put in a few bits and pieces, a bit of detail, we're pretty much done. Okay, Lillian Van here from Thailand, and yep, saying Facebook is still. So let's get cracking with shadows now. Now, what I want to do is with the buildings, we're going to need to get a bit of blending going on with the buildings. I really love this, what it's done here, and I really want to get rid of it, but I'm going to need to spray that down. Reason being is because it needs to connect onto the shadow on the ground. Okay, a little spray in there. Let's go ahead and drop in some of this, and I think I'll obliterate all of it. We'll just do some of it and we'll see what happens. Okay, this comes down. That there is some figures here, and this is the sort of shadow on the ground. Pretty dark, pretty much the darkest tone that we have on in this whole scene. So don't be afraid to go a bit darker. But what I do like doing is, yeah, just leaving, you see on the figures, I've left almost like a slight outline near the shoulder areas of some of these figures. That helps so that we can gauge where they are after we do all this. Being, kind of careful, but at the same time, in here, soften this bit down a bit, soften it. Water. If I remember next time when I'm out shopping, I'm gonna go get myself another spray bottle that just has more water in it. I always run into this problem all the time. We go cut around. Where does it? Oh, of course. Now this is a tricky part where we need to get in the shadow on the building here, so the tower. So it just kind of comes like that. You only get one chance to do this, so be very careful. Goes all the way up like that, side of the building, and it forms a negative shape. See, with the palace in the background. We just gotta should go for it. Hope for the best. Connect that onto the ground. Connecting onto some of these figures. Notice I'm preserving little bits of white and things in here, little highlights. Okay. This edge here where the shadow finishes off. Okay. That's pretty crucial as well to get in edge all the way up here. And this is where the drawing really makes really comes in handy. You know, you planned it out before, you drew roughly where that shadow is, and you don't have to think and figure out what light we're up to at this stage. Dark enough kind of thing. Good. I'm going to soften this off a little. Some goes up. A bit more tight. Okay. Good. Just finish this shadow shape off like that. Okay. That is roughly all that we need to do. For the ground, I mean, I can just pick up some more neutral tint and drop that in there as well, like that. I love what's going on in here in the windows, and it seems a shame to just get rid of it. I don't think I'll do it with all parts, but maybe like just need to get a little bit more darkness in some areas of this building. Soft to dark that kind of travel downwards on the paper a bit so that they join with the ground. They also have a sharper edge, the sides there, if you see, even against the sky, there's a sharper edge there. Drawing. Okay. That looks pretty all right to me. Now, let's get in some details of the figures, the shadows and things like that. I'm just going to use some neutral tint. Put some darkness for the legs of these figures. Kind of just dry brushing some of them on like that. Figure kind of walking forwards. This one may be joined up with the shadow here on the ground a little like that. Just taking a look, painting it in and then looking at it from a distance quickly. Make sure making sense. Got to be pretty dark, the legs, some of these figures as well. But you can soften it up the top so that it joins onto the body a little. Here's some more leg. There's a leg of this figure, kind of going out towards the back, like holding onto something. So well, let's go for this one. Leg here, leg here. Yeah, the ones in the back have less details as well, so don't stress detailing them too much. One's in the foreground. Legs are going to be wet, almost like wet into wet sections here. Just kind of abstract because it's hard to see what's going on in this into this segment, of course. But some of them do have more detailing because some areas are dried. That area is dried a little bit more. Downward sort of vertical shaped thingos. They all look pretty similar at the moment, but you can change them around, add some different colors onto them, put some hair, and differentiate them a little bit. And time to get in this shadow. I think it kind of go over on the left. Or simplify it. That shadow for that one. Here, but kind of blends a little bit into the ground. Shadow for that one there. That one here joins up to that one, and the legs for this one here. What's in here? I think I do have a person here. Right? There, one here, here. Yeah. Legs here. Person kind of walking and putting on here. That figure at the front. Yeah, here, maybe here. Okay, good, good. The bags and stuff this person holding, I was gonna like leave it a little bit and just go into it like now. So yeah, I don't know, just a bit different, doesn't draw it on too much. We will. Okay, like that. We can go in and just put in a bit of color for the faces and the heads as well. Using just do different some earth tones. You can use some red as well for the heads. I'm just going to put in a real light warm indication for some of the heads, and that's it. I'm not going to spend too much time with this. Better to do this actually while the paint is still wet, that it melts in better. I haven't done that for this. Best thing I can do is just sort of use the finger and soften it down a little. Righto. This is looking decent. Now we're almost done. Really, the final steps of this is just to add in, basically just to add in the final finishing touches. And when I say finishing touches, I'm talking about basically the little bits of dry brush and stuff that we have, the figures, it's just detailing basically. And this stage you can sit here for a whole day and do this. So, it's really up to you. I won't be doing all of it perhaps now, but I will show you just some of the things that I do to detail. Add in some final bits. Yvette's asking, can the neutral tint vary in color? Yeah, neutral tint can, depending on the brand of it, it can vary, but it should be the same color. It should be it should just be a gray, basically. That's neither cool nor warm, somewhere in the middle. So yeah, Shanolan says, I did the drawing, but I'll paint later. I'm also drawing out the sunflowers. Awesome. I'll be keen to see what you come up with, Shanolan. And focus on those shadows. Get the light bits in, and then big shape of shadows all joined together. That's the main idea there, yeah. So I will I will get the hairdryer dry this off a little bit, and once that is done, I'll show you the final finishing touches. Pause the. Okay, that looks pretty dry. Dry. Final touches, number 6 round brush. And we're going to use this number 6 round brush and a bit of neutral tint to add in some color. I'm also going to use some white gouache to finish off and get in some, yeah, just some little highlights here and there. The V saying, wish my people would come out as good as yours. I need to really practice painting people without the pen. Doing it with just paint did not work for me. Yeah, I used to practice figures a lot, and when you paint them constantly over and over again, yeah, they just get better. So if you got a scrap sheet of paper or something like that, definitely recommend it, V. But keep persevering, you'll be fine. It takes time, come overnight. V's asking, says, my husband just asked a question. Ask away. Would it be a sin? Would it be a sin to use pen in this for the people only? Look, there's not really, there's not really a right and wrong, I think, in art. But if you use the pen on the people, what's going to happen is that they're going to stick out more because when you're using pen, I mean, the outline of the pen, it shows through the watercolors. It does show through the watercolors. He said my people look terrible. Look, what you can do, do you have any gouache, V? You can use some of that gouache to bring out some highlights, and if you've gone too dark in some areas, you can use the white gouache on them as well. Another thing you can do is that you can lift off some of the paint. You just wet the brush with a bit of water. Just go over some bit and then get the see if I show you here. Just get a bit of water wet here. Lift off. You can get some little, light areas, on the figures like that. So that might help you out a little bit. But for the most part, I think just the practice is good for you, V. So don't worry if you haven't got it right this time, or you not right, but I mean if there's a few things that you want to redo again later, like as long as you've got the practice in, you'll be fine. It's not always going to work out 100% the way you want it to work out, but the practice is really going to help you. Yvette says, Darren, good idea for one tutorial is painting and drawing people. We are all scared to do them. Yeah, including me. Yeah, I want to do a session on actually painting like a proper figure. So, like a person just walking, and then like ones like these as well. So more simple ones, and then we can have more detailed figures that are, someone maybe, I don't know, like a group of people sitting down having a picnic or something like that. So yeah, that's a good idea. I do want to do that. It's just that the drawing for that's going to take a really long time. It might be an idea for me just to upload a reference a tracing template for you guys to trace over it prior, because when you're painting figures, like real detailed figures, not like this, you really need to take time to do the drawing. The drawing is pretty much half the battle. So, but that's a good it's a good idea. It's a good idea, Yvette. Right, righto. And yeah, the like lifting helps in some areas, and people say you can't correct watercolors, and look, there are parts that you can correct, and there's some parts that probably look better uncorrected. But um, there's no rules. Like I know there's a lot of painters out there that do a heap of lifting. So it's whatever gets you the result. Even the use of white gouache. Um, some people that really disagree with its use. I think it's a big deal at all. Just use whatever works. As long as you're not painting with, as long as you're not painting with oils or acrylics on top of the paper, then you're fine. But we're doing watercolors. But I think gouache is acrylic at watercolors at the end of the day. Is that okay? I will finish this off now. Little bit of neutral tint and a little bit of neutral tint and a bit of water. And I'm gonna go. There's a few things I need to correct, darken down. So this here, these little arches, they are darker in here. So I need to darken up this section a bit. We can detail a bit more. Bring some of that darkness out. See here as well, these little windows that I put in. I'll show you in a moment a little trick. We can grab some of that white gouache and bring out some of the frames of the windows and things. There's a bit of sections here. This is what I mean. You can sit here and do this all day. And, V, you're talking about like line and wash before. Using a brush like this, it's almost like drawing in line and wash. Like if you ever look at that, it's pretty hard to tell whether that's pen or watercolor, yeah? So there's certainly a lot of crossover between drawing and watercolors. Working on your drawing, and a good way to do that is through line and wash. Will certainly improve your paintings. These little, what do you call them? Segments or what have you there, they kind of need to be just need to put in a few like, verticals running down the page. So maybe soften. Yeah, just downwards, maybe a bit more brown, Good, like that. Ooh, 1, 2. You can only kind of do this once. 3, 4. More paint. 4. Good. That kind of connects up with the shadow a bit. Nice. I think it looks nice. Bit of this section, and then see like the edge of this side, because we had tried to make this 3D. This is probably my only thing that I didn't quite like maybe about this tower, is that it doesn't look too 3D at this stage. I've added too much of the edge here on the side. But what we can do, of course, is, got a bit of blue, go in and just edit this out. A little, go in more. So it looks like most of it's kind of like sky, right? But yeah, I know some people are like, you shouldn't do this. Shouldn't do this. It's refinish that wash. But get away with it. Okay. Sometimes you need to do this. Look at that. Just soften it off. You can't tell. Barely tell. Doesn't matter. It's whatever gets you that result. Yeah. Yeah. Righto. Cool. We've got some of that going on. Now, some of the detail on the buildings, we can start bringing out perhaps, some darker shapes. So that's like a bit of a window that you might want to draw attention to. Have a look, that you draw attention to. You might think of like just little areas. I mean, here we have kind of a section on top of that bottom, bit more in some region. Kind of getting in all your dark spots, little windows and things. Stone. Soften, put in a little edge. I've gone way too dark. Yeah, and then look, this really is just finishing touches. Anything that you think, we kind of add to what the story that you're telling. Um, that's all I'm doing here. I'm just adding bits and pieces, little windows, things, extra details. It's pretty much finished. Not all that much left to do. Um, but bringing like a bit of extra detail, a bit of extra contrast into windows and stuff, I think be a good idea. But I don't want to do it to all of them because again, there's this really cool wash, soft kind of wash that's behind. However, some of these windows do need to be defined a bit more background, and some of this dry brush work is great for that. You don't overstate any of that. The floors as well. We lost some of the detail for the floors, so some of this is helping. Yeah, some of the windows. Leave some of them and then just go over some of them. Good strategy. Okay. Of course, I'm not sure if these reminded me yet, but I haven't put in any birds. Put in any birds. Okay. So let's put some in. 1, 2, 3. Drop them in. Big little indications like that. Sky near the tower, I think. Around in these little groups. Keep them spaced apart and slightly different looking as well. Wings in different positions. And this is going to help, like I usually say, to draw, to sort of combine the background and the rest of the paper. How much is too much? Well, it's up to you. Some may say this is already too much. Yeah, up to you. Whatever you feel good. I like to have some on the horizon line. Kind of carry the viewer, the eye, all the way through the painting. And look how it just joins. It joins everything up. I've got a lot in there, probably way too many birds. But there are a lot of birds in St. Mark's Square. Good. we got things like this, there could be someone holding a bag or that kind of thing. So you got little bits and pieces now that you can just draw out, edit, a bit of hair, a bit of brown there, for the hairs, for that, bit for that one. Cat, whatever colors you want. Some of the figures. Oh, I got some green. I accidentally picked up some. Application. Yeah, for the figures. Bit of yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. There. Darken off some of the figures on the left hand side in areas. I want to put some patterns on their shirts and stuff like that. It's really up to you. Need some darker some of these sections. Notice where you put the hair as well makes a difference. Like if you put the hair on the left hand side of the head, it looks like they're kind of facing to the faces going to the right. Put it right at the top, they're kind of like facing forwards, covering the back of their head. They're walking into the scene. So that's yeah, like a figure tip, I suppose, if that helps you sort of draw them to. Oops, I haven't paid too much. Bits here and there. I don't want to overdo it. Righto. Finishing touch. I'm just going to get some white gouache, and we will do this by just picking up this white gouache. Bit of white gouache. It dries off, so some fresh stuff. It almost dries instantaneously. Yeah, as soon as you squeeze out, there, there. Yeah, a bit here on the shoulders. Bring these figures out a bit. I've actually lost some of the detail. Shoulder, the figure. That. Yeah, a bit of the head, and the shoulder like that. Draw out some details. Yeah, and the same thing goes. I mean, same see for these like little, we call them frames, or do it too. Don't overdo it though. Little bits in here, they'll be okay, but I wouldn't like, even I'm just trying to dab it off a bit as well. Yeah, and I've got bits here, so I've accidentally kind of colored over some of these parts. We can bring them back with a bit of this gouache, a little bit of that white gouache that will help. But you don't want it to also look too perfect. Certainly, the building is not completely white up the top. There is some pieces in there. Bit of detailing here. That tidy up some of these areas. What you can do. What you can. Why I said this part really spend all day doing it, and certainly if you're not careful, overdo it. Actually, some of the white bits and stuff here in the background. Okay, some of that. I think we might leave it as this. Okay, if I got some time later, I'll go and finish. Maybe just play around with it a bit more. Just take the tape off. And I'll be checking the chats in a moment. So please leave your messages and let me know what you think as well. I would love to hear. Yeah, I would love to hear what you think of this class and what you'd like to see for future ones as well. I do have a Patreon. and I really appreciate everyone who's supporting me by watching these tutorials, um, the Patreon and the courses that I sell people. They're basically a combination of a lot of painting demonstrations and some special tips that I include in there that helps support me as an artist, and so that I can continue doing this. I want to do this on a more permanent basis, and I really appreciate those of you who are here supporting me, watching, and also helping, obviously buying my courses and stuff like that as well. Um, and yeah, you can always try it out in Patreon or the course and stuff like that. I'm trying to start an online school, like another website, so that might be up at some stage. So there we go. We got two scenes. I think um like I don't know about you guys, but I'm fairly happy with how these turned out. I was in a pretty relaxed mood this morning, and I was actually looking forward, quite excited to do these. So um I think these have turned out quite okay. Let me know what you think. Let me just take off this photograph. This is always a tricky part where I'm everything in. Um Something like that. See both. They always look better when you take the tape off and you can sort of see the frame of it. Um, the kind of framing, I suppose, of it. So there we there we go. Yeah, and so yeah, like I was saying, with Patreon and with some of these with the courses I sell as well, it's all in the link, the link in the description. Give it a try if you're interested in learning more. You can try it for a month and cancel, or if you don't like it, you can message me and I'll just refund you the money. But that helps support me, and I make a lot of these courses, do lots of videos anyway. So let's have a look at the chats. The have a look. Oh, it's good. You let me just see where I'm up to. It's hard for me to figure out exactly where I'm up to. Um, yeah, we're talking about people having a tutorial for people, which is going to be great. I'll work something out. I'll figure something out and plan it out. Um, that's why I have 9 hours reading. It's a no in watercolor, but I need gouache. Oh yeah, yep. Gouache does help certainly. Um, I do see what you mean with doing the line detail with the brush, feeling really creative too in a way I can't be with pen. Yeah, like line and wash can be quite restrictive in a way, because you see all the work through, like that one there. It's amazing, it's beautiful, but it's more restrictive in a way. But of course, I go pretty dark in some of the areas like there, so it goes over the pen. But for most areas, you can see the pen does show, certainly shows through. So I mean, if you compare this with that, there's a little bit less structure and it's a little bit more fluid. Um, yeah. And Yvette says, thanks so much. Great. So great. You are feeling better. Oh, that you, so great. You are back. Thank you. Thanks, Yvette. I'm happy I'm back too. Wasn't fun last couple of weeks. Has not been fun at all. If you liked the video and you think anyone could benefit from it, if you could share it around, if you do me a favor and just share it around on Facebook, on to your friends, on yeah, whatever platforms that you're on, that helps get me a few more viewers, and yeah, like hopefully just a bit more just a few more eyes on what I'm doing. So that'd be much appreciated if you, yeah, if you're enjoying and you just know anyone that might be interested. If you're part of groups, Facebook groups, stuff like that, just share it around. Um, let me have a look. What else do we have? B says, good to see you holding a session again and glad you're feeling better. This is a wonderful pitch, Darren. And I know I will paint this again with better people. I know I'll find it hard to stop when I get going on the details. This is good to help me loosen up, though. Love it. Just a stunning job. People are really perfect. Awesome. Thank you, B. And Thank you for covering. V saying thank you for covering so much in this session. I learned several things from this. I can't wait. Um, can't wait to watch the video as I missed the first part of the session. Yeah, watch the first part. The sunflowers were good fun, really good fun to do. And Ellen Whitney says, "Thank you. I enjoyed both of these. I always look forward to Fridays. Perfect way to start my weekend." Thanks, Ellen. It's really like kind of heartwarming to hear that everyone, yeah, they just enjoy it, and that you get, so much fulfillment and yeah, I guess value out of these sessions. And that's goes a long way to help me continue doing what I'm doing as well, Ellen. And thank you for your support here on the channel and on Patreon as well. Really appreciate it. V says, Darren, I just got out my new credit card updated on Patreon. Okay, yeah, that's a no, no worries. That's okay, V, because we just let me know when you want to do that live. Just let me know when you want to do your the Zoom class with me, and because I tried messaging you, I know you've not been well, so just let me know when you want to do that class, and we'll organize something and go from there. Yeah. But thank you, really appreciate your support. B, I was a bit worried because I hadn't heard back from you. I was wondering if you were okay or not, but yeah, it's good to see you. You get me commented last night as well in one of my videos, which was good. Um, how many people we got still watching on Facebook? Let me have a look at the chats. How did you guys go on Facebook? Um did you enjoy the class? Did you enjoy the class? And did you end up yeah, did you end up with the painting that you liked, or did you at least did you learn something? I think if you do one of these and you learn something from it, that's that's the biggest thing. Because you've got to remember that I've been painting for quite a long time, and I paint like pretty constantly as well. And so I'm able to convert a lot of these reference pictures into paintings a lot more easier because I've had a lot of time and a lot of experience doing this. I've probably painted like 1,000, maybe like 1,000 or more paintings. Come to think of it, so just remember if you're frustrated, it takes me so many years, and Um, enjoy the process and give yourself time. Be forgiving with yourself, but at the same time, look at your work and think, I like this. This is what I liked about it, and this is what I perhaps would like to work on. And set yourself little goals. Whether it be, hey, I'm going to paint a couple times a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, or Wednesdays and Saturdays with me. That's one of my. That's even these lives. They help me out as well. They get me painting, and they challenge me. And I also feel you guys are all watching, so I got to make sure that they look semi decent. Um, it's be embarrassing if which it has happened before. I have done some paintings and they just turned out absolutely terrible on camera, and they don't always work out. Even for me, they don't always work out. I'm still learning a lot myself. Uh, yep. Um, V saying not soon. I've got 2 procedures this week and next week for my back. Okay, yeah. Well, I hope you're feeling better, V. You know, yeah. Just let me know when you want to do those classes. I mean, we can do a longer class, or we can go through like and give you like a crash course on like techniques and stuff like that as well. Whatever works for you. Um, I think that's it. Let me have a look. Oh, Solan Solan Beverly says, "Thank you for a very productive tutorial. I like your style. I have a similar uh, you have a similar style. I think you were trying to say, Beverly. So appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you, Solana. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you being here. I hope to see you next time as well when you, uh, yeah, whenever you're free. do have a lot of previous workshops that you can revisit and watch, go over and watch again. They're all available on YouTube or on Facebook, depending on where you're on. They're all recorded and they're available. Um, yeah, so thank you for watching. Robin Carroll says thank you. This was great, fantastic. Thanks, Robin. I had lots of fun too, and I'm glad you did, and I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself. Um, B says, I have so many questions for you, Darren, that are going to go into your process of painting and how you make certain decisions, the choices you make from start to finish. Yeah, for sure. Ask away. And even here, if anyone has questions, what's going through my head, um, what's going through my head and how I'm, I guess, my process, just pop them in the chats and I'll do my best to explain. But if you do want, I've got a couple of spots on Patreon where I just have to take some one-on-one classes. I don't want to do too many of them because it can get it can get quite time consuming, and I want to make sure, like, for the people that I do have one-on-one sessions with, that I can focus and provide my full attention, I guess, and faculties. So uh, yeah, but when these ones are pretty fun. I love the live sessions and just chatting with you all, and it helps motivate me quite a lot as well. Shanolan says my sunflowers are littler because I put it on a watercolor card so I can give it to my mum in the hospital. Thanks for another awesome class. Thank you, Shanolan, and yeah, I hope your mum's okay. Hope it's nothing. Hope she gets better soon. I'm sure she'll love the card. Um, yeah, I'm sure she'll love the card. Um, uh, fantastic. And Solan Beverly says, yes, love the process. Very encouraging, Darren. Learned a lot. And we'll look at my classes. Yeah, they're you have to find them. You have to go rummaging around on YouTube or on Facebook in the videos section somewhere. But they're in there. They're certainly in there. There's about, geez, I think there's like another 28 live streams in the past that you can go through. Have a check them out. Got to find a way to get them out to more people as well, because I find that as soon as these lives finish, maybe I'm just not naming them properly. I'm not. They call it like search engine optimization, where I'm just not naming them properly because they tend to get buried after a while. So yeah, hopefully I sort of get them out. But yeah, if you guys share them around, that would be much appreciated. Much appreciated too. Um, and fantastic. I think we're all pretty much caught up in the chat. So how long's the stream gone for? I started at about 10:30. Yeah, so 10. What's it, like 3 hours? 3 hours something. Fantastic. I'm kind of hungry. V's asking, Darren, which gouache color? Gouache? You mean gouache color? Do you recommend? V, what you can do is, like, I just have like what mainly I use white gouache, but I do have other gouache colors. But you can mix white gouache with any of your watercolor paints, and you can create an opaque version. This one is just white. Yeah, like pretty much most whites are made out of titanium dioxide, which is, yeah, titanium white. So I think that's what it is. PW6. I think that's what it says on the back, titanium white. So yeah, it's opaque color. You can mix it with any of the other watercolors and it will just turn them opaque. So it's a really good bang for buck. I mean, this cost me I think this cost me about $8 here in Australia. And that's going to last me a really long time. And then you can, obviously there's like black gouache as well. I don't really use that, but you can, you mix a bit of neutral tint in to kind of darken whatever your paint is. So yeah, neutral tint, maybe a bit of that white gouache mixed with something else. You can create a nice kind of opaque color. Sometimes if I stuff up the figures and I want to bring back some of the yellow, there's no other way to do it other than lifting, or just to get a bit of white gouache, mix it with the yellow or some other color and just dunk it in, and then you can get some color. It's kind of what I did with the sunflowers. If you want to look at it later, the scene replay later, you'll be able to see what I've done. V saying, okay, thanks. I just saw so many colors of white, got worried which I should get. Yeah, okay, so the one up on the corner here that I was using before, that was buff titanium. Buff titanium is a kind of this one here in the corner. It's kind of off white color. It's actually a watercolor, so it's slightly transparent. So that's watercolor and that's gouache. So I hope that makes sense. Titanium white I use kind of yeah, buildings and mixing with a bit of yellow as well. And I have to get some of these cards I made to send everyone for Christmas. Yes, I have some like I have like a tutorial somewhere on YouTube that I made on how to put together Christmas cards. I actually have a few of them. If you want to see, I can bring them out, show you just how I put them together. Bunch I did, like snow scenes and stuff. This is a bit of like card stock. So I purchased like a bunch of these cards. They're like, I think they're 300 GSM. They have this sort of glossy sort of look on them. I think that cost me about $10 for a pack of like 30, like that, pack of 30. And then you do a little painting on some watercolor paper. Sometimes if you've got some paintings that didn't really work out, you can paint on the back side of it and then cut them out and stick them on so you don't waste the paper, and it works. It's the same thing. The paper's still pretty good, you know. So that's, you know, you can turn them into these little cards and just I just use a glue stick, like a, you know, like those glue sticks that school kids use. I guess everyone, but for me it's from remind me of school. You just glue them on, and that's been sticking there for. I mean, I made these last year. I gave a whole bunch of them away, but I mean, you know, they're definitely glued on pretty well. Not going anywhere. So these are a few ideas. Here's a few guys. I did make a class on these actually on my courses and Patreon, so you can like check that out. I go through, I think, how to make 12 different Christmas cards. Some of these are new, like that one there. I think I did nice kind of granulation in the sky. So little ideas that you can turn your paintings into things. You can even you know, if you're at fairs or your art fairs or something, you can try to sell some of them too. You can sell them online. Yeah, just make sure the card stock that you're using is like I'd say like 300 GSM and above, because I have some other card stock like this one here, which is it's not 300 GSM, but it's, I don't know, it just feels a little flimsy. I think it's like 200 or 185 or something. No, it doesn't feel so good compared to this stuff here. Like this is so much sturdier and kind of matches the thickness of the watercolor paper as well. That's like definitely worth the investment. You spend a little bit more on that card stock. That will help you just feel sturdier. Julio. Right. Marianne, fantastic. There's a few comments. Solan says, "Look, we'll certainly look at your classes." Thank you. Yeah. We know what you think. Marianne Levy says, "Many thanks to you today. Enjoyed it." Thank you, Marianne, for coming along. You're a regular here. Good to see you being consistent and keeping up with your painting. Lillian says, "Thanks. I learned a lot, especially at going fast and don't fiddle. It's so out of my comfort zone, but so useful." Oh, definitely. You don't need to. Watercolors is suited, I think, in a way to sporadic mixing and just soft edges. There's just something beautiful about the way that the water moves and blends together that you can't get in any other medium. And I feel this kind of the painting style that I use, I try to emphasize that effect rather than try to make it look like a like an oil painting or acrylic painting, that kind of thing. I have used oils and acrylics before, and they're beautiful mediums, but I think every medium has its own strength. Watercolors has a strength in looseness and a beautiful kind of vibrancy, um, and softness, and these effects, this wet on wet, which I don't think you can get in any other medium. That's why I love it so much. Wet and wet. Um, this somewhat at time chaotic look that has still um, elements of structure, pockets of structure, and then you're putting other structure here using structured and unstructured shapes, juxtapositioned. Thank you, Solon. So I think I'm pretty much done. Look, I think we're done with the questions. V's asking, have you painted on Velium? I was going to try it out too. Velium. Vellum, is that the kind of yellowish kind of paper? I don't think I've tried. Like if you're talking about the color, yeah, I painted on a kind of, yeah, like a kind of yellowish kind of paper, but I don't know if that's a type of another product. But yeah, you okay? Done asking questions. We'll chat with you in private after I know I can start my sessions with you. Yeah, no worries, B. Just while you're here, yeah, ask away. No problem. Um, okay, everyone. Thank you for coming along. I'm going to end the stream now, and I hope to see you around at the next one. And I do have a few more events out there, so please share them around. Check out the next couple events, Wednesday, Saturday, and yeah, share them around if you do get a chance. And I will I'll see you next time.